run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am
I am
tired,
tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
Hello, hello, hello. Greetings from our nation's capital. I got to tell you, in Washington, D.C., that the only thing everybody's talking about is the late, great Eric Cantor. Well, the late Eric Cantor, not so great. Yeah, boy. After getting walloped in his primary, he then stepped down as majority leader of the House of Representatives. Eric Cantor will soon be no more. He's going to finish out his term, and that is it. One of the big things, though, you got to recognize in David Bratt beating Eric Cantor is that David Bratt had no support practically from anybody in the establishment except right-wing talk show hosts Laura Ingraham and Mark Levin. Reminds me that, as we talked a little earlier, that the Tea Party people, the Koch brothers, pay these right-wing talk show hosts, including those on Fox News like Sean Hannity and others, to put their candidates on the air and to talk about their issues. They pay millions of dollars to these talk show hosts for that. I got to tell you, that's why it's so important that we have a strong, progressive cable channel like Free Speech TV to counter that kind of right-wing propaganda, to balance their lies and with the truth and tell the truth to the American people. We don't get that kind of special interest Tea Party money. We don't want it. We don't want any corporate money. We don't want any government money. We will be happy just to get along the way we do now with you. You are our only source of support, which is why we are not too embarrassed to turn to you again and ask you, if you really like Free Speech TV and you really like following the people on Free Speech TV, me and Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and others, then we ask you one more time to dig in and be as generous as you can to keep us on the air. To help you to do so, for $50, we'll invite you to join a conference call, 1-hour conference call with me on July 15 to talk about the issues of the day. If you could help us with $120 or just $10 a month, we will give you a copy of the Constitution, right? And let me get my list here. And you'll also be on that conference call, and a copy of one of these Free Speech TV tote bags for $240 a month. $240 or $20 a month. You get a Bill Press mug, plus this Eco Journal with a pen. And for $360 or $30 a month, you get all of the above: the Constitution, the pen, the tote bag, the mug, and the conference call. And for those of you who can afford it and can help us with a pledge of $1,000, you make your way to Washington, and we'll have a lot of fun. Carol and I will take you out to dinner, and then we'll invite you in to watch the show the next morning here in the studio. Go to freespeech.org and make your pledge today, or give us a call at 877-378-8669 for the only truly progressive, truly independent TV channel out there today, Free Speech TV. We need your help, and thank you for doing so.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much.
I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years.
I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas.
I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
Press Show. Good morning. Happy Monday. It is the Bill Press Show, live on your favorite progressive talk radio station, live on Free Speech TV, live on YouTube, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR TV. Howdy, my name is not Bill Press. My name is Peter Ogburn, steering the ship for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Still tweeting throughout the show at BP Show. And I'm also tweeting at Peter Ogburn. If you have a comment for the program, give us a call. 866-55-PRESS. 866-557-7377. Boy, oh boy, I have so many things I want to talk about today. Seriously, so much stuff. I have notes and notes and notes of things I want to get into just because the weekend was crazy. There's just so much stuff going on this weekend. I, of course, could not do the show by myself. I have surrounded myself with the best and the brightest that talk radio and political television has to offer. Running the board today, Elisa Murphy.
Good morning,
Elisa. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. It's a very happy Monday, isn't it, Peter?
We'll talk about it. We'll talk. Don't worry. Bill is going to regret asking me to host the show the day after the Spurs won the NBA championship.
You came in such a great mood this morning.
I know. If you call that number that I put out there, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, you will not talk to Alicia Cruz. She is out this week, so we have Javon Paris in. Look, go easy on him, okay?
Yeah,
go easy on him. It's his first day in. We got Rusty screening the calls today. So take it easy on Javon.
But call for his smooth voice.
Let me tell you something. You want to hear the best voice in the call screening business? 866-55-PRESS. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. It's a way to start your Monday morning.
Javon's your guy. He'll wake you up. And, of course, if you are watching us on Free Speech TV or TawkrTV, you are doing so because of the great, excellent work of Cyprian Bolding. Cyprian Bolding, by the way, I'll tell you what, he cleans up. He cleans up all right.
Cleans up nice.
So we had a little gathering of the Bill Press Show folks over the weekend. The whole team got together, which we keep such weird schedules, right? We rarely ever do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we had some people over to Bill's house, and Cyprian had another event he had to go to. Cyprian showed up wearing a suit. And Mrs. Bolding showed up, black dress.
Looking gorgeous as
ever.
I'm
telling you, man.
He
put everybody else to shame. They walk in the door. I said, what are you go to court? You dress like that? I, said, I only ever dress like that when I have to go to court.
I couldn't believe it when I first showed up and Bill was donning Nats cap and a big bright red Washington
his big national
t-shirt. I couldn't believe it. I'm coming down the alley and I'm like, that's not Bill.
I'm telling you. Bill dresses up for TV and he's a good dresser, but when he's off the clock,
yep,
Birkenstocks and shorts.
Exactly.
Literally, all the time. So that was a good time. Also, yesterday was Father's Day. Here's the deal, though. Yesterday was Father's Day. It was also my wedding anniversary.
Was it? So it was yesterday, the 15th.
Which means it was not Father's Day.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. No, it was not Father's Day. Look, I move on very quickly, but a couple years ago, my wife completely forgot Father's Day.
Uh-oh.
It was our anniversary. And so I didn't say anything, because I'm a nice guy.
Yes, hold it in for the appropriate moment.
Yeah. Well, I said, well, what do you want to do? Because, we had kids. Our kids were younger. This was, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what do you want to do? Let's go get some breakfast. Yeah, let's go get breakfast. Oh, that'd be fine. Let's go get breakfast with the kids, right? So we go to breakfast. We're driving around. Every place is packed. And she's like, why are all the breakfast places so busy? And I'm like, yeah, maybe everyone knew it was our anniversary. Maybe that's what's going on.
Oh, no.
Until finally we walk in and someone goes, Happy Father's Day. And I was like, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh, no, that's terrible. Well, happy anniversary. Congratulations.
Thanks. We went out on Saturday night We had a sitter. So after we had a little function at Bill's place, we went out.
Yeah.
And did dinner.
Where'd you go?
So we went to Rose's Luxury.
Oh, you did?
Phenomenal restaurant here on the hill.
Oh, was there a big, long wait?
No.
Oh, good. Well, of course. You just dropped the name, right?
You look at this face. You think this face is going to wait?
What is it, Sugar Pie Ogburn?
Yeah, Sugar Pie Ogburn. That's right. I'm just going to flash one of those. I'm in. So we just spent the day yesterday just like hanging out at the pool and laying low.
Beautiful weather for it.
Oh, my God. The best. This is the move, by the way. Pro tip for anybody who has kids, has to go to the pool, right? The neighborhood pool. You got to have 2 different colored water bottles, right? You have one filled with water, and you have the other one filled with. Yesterday was rum and ginger beer.
Oh,
right? But you make sure you remember which one is which. Right, and you keep the one away from everybody else. So yesterday it was Dad's secret water bottle. I just hung
very
out
nice.
A little rum and ginger while I was doing that, which of course led up to the big game last night, Game 5 of the NBA Finals back in San Antonio. Of course, I'm gonna get this in. The Spurs and the Heat. Spurs closed it out last night. We hear the final call. I want to hear that final call again. Let's hear it.
And this ball game is over. The San Antonio Spurs have won the NBA championship, and they will celebrate this title in Europe, South America, Australia, the Virgin Islands, Canada, and especially here in San Antonio. The Spurs have captured their 5th NBA championship. It's time to celebrate, San Antonio.
Bill Schoening from WOAI, guy I know from when I worked out there, working with the Spurs. He made a reference to all the different countries. They're an international team, right? They got players.
I didn't know that. Manu
Ginobili is from Argentina. Tim Duncan from the Virgin Islands. Tony Parker, he's French.
Oh, wow.
That's their big 3. And they got, Boris Diaw is French. Kawhi Leonard, by the way, is series MVP, finals MVP.
Really? Yeah, he was great.
Nowhere. He was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the Spurs all throughout the show, but I'm not going to be annoying about it. However, I did bring in Twitter's most well-known Heat fan, Kelly Cohen from the Washington Examiner. She's coming in studio at 8 o'clock, or the 3rd hour of the program. I booked her like a week ago when I thought that it was going to go down to the wire.
When you thought you needed a shoulder to cry on.
Well, I thought I was going to bring her in and we were still going to be in the middle of the series. I honestly didn't think Spurs were going to close out in 5. So I brought her in.
Very exciting.
So stay tuned for that because that could get ugly. Because I know we were both up late last night. All right, so let's talk about the news. Because when Bill was here on Friday, we talked a lot about Iraq. Here we go again with Iraq. It's amazing what's going on. All of the progress, in air quotes, that we've made in Iraq has virtually been erased. And if you've been following the show and you've been following the friends of the show like Joe Cirincione and Tom Ricks, all along they've been saying, this is what could happen in Iraq. This is what, worst case scenario would be in Iraq, but it's also very likely, very real thing that could happen. And Bill, obviously, has been out in front on Iraq and said we shouldn't go in, number one, but we should also get the hell out. And, the question has always been, can we fix Iraq? Can we build this nation of Iraq? And we've always said we don't want to get in this business of nation building. And that's what we tried to do in Iraq. And, of course, now that we've walked away from it, as we should have, it's all kind of fallen apart. This is the thing that gets me, that drives me crazy as I'm watching this story and as I'm hearing the voices talk about it. We've heard all this before. It's Back to the Future, man. And we sort of got to a place where we had moved on from Iraq. We weren't talking about how we should engage in Iraq and what our strategy in Iraq should be. We realized it's not something that we can get into and win. So some of the voices that I heard over the weekend on one of the Sunday shows. Let's start with Mike McCall, Republican congressman from Texas, weighing in.
I would call the top team of commanders and diplomats who won this war, and I would get their advice as to what to do moving forward.
You remember this? You remember this? We need to listen to the generals on the ground, the voices on the ground. That's who we should be listening to. And Bush saying, I'm not going to make any decisions on Iraq until I hear what the troops on the ground, or what the generals on the ground have to say. That's what he based all of his decisions on. And yet here we are again, all these years later, with the same, not talking points, but the same arguments. I mean, are we really going to go back and refight this war in Iraq? Loser Mitt Romney was on Meet the Press, and he weighed in. And this is what I find so stunning about this story and about the Iraq situation now is the short-term memory loss. Listen to Mitt Romney, whose opinion should count for nothing, by the way, on this. Here he is weighing in on it.
This administration, from Secretary Clinton to President Obama, has repeatedly underestimated the threats that are faced by America, has repeatedly underestimated our adversaries, and whether that's Russia or Assad or ISIS or Al-Qaeda itself, it has not taken the action necessary to prevent bad things from happening. It has not used our influence to do what's necessary to protect our interests.
It's crazy. It's crazy, and I'll tell you why. Because underestimating the situation in Iraq has never been the problem. We knew, progressives knew, Joe Cirincione told us he knew, Tom Rakes knew. A lot of people, when we were having this discussion, knew that this was not going to work. They knew it was going to be a problem. They knew that we were going to end up in a slog, an unwinnable slog. They knew that this was going to happen. So this whole idea of underestimating our enemy is garbage. It's not the case, Mitt Romney. George Bush certainly seemed to have misunderestimated the situation in Iraq and underestimated the situation there. You see what I did there? Little Bushes and we'll misunderestimate.
Yes.
18 minutes past the hour. I want to hear from what you have to say. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. So, of course, now what? What do we do? Oh, we have to go running back in now. You have Republicans say, we have to go back into Iraq. Bob Corker, John McCain, Lindsey Graham have all called for, by the way, John McCain called for it, so you know Lindsey Graham called for it. The other half of that relationship. But they've called for immediate air intervention in Iraq. So we could figure out what that means, if that means drones or if that means just airstrikes in general. I think most people agree that putting boots on the ground is a horrible idea, and the president did his part this weekend to sort of shut that down. But I wouldn't put it past conservatives and politicians to sort of build up this narrative that we need to put boots on the ground in Iraq, and I hate that. Let's talk Iraq. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, tweeting at BP Show. Give us a call. Get in line. Where do we go next in this Iraq situation? Should we send airstrikes? Look, we send airstrikes, at least it's not boots on the ground. Should we stay the hell away from it altogether? Should we just let them eat each other alive, eat themselves alive? 866-55-PRESS, that is our phone number. Would love to hear from you. 866-55-PRESS. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for being with us this morning on Free Speech TV. And now a very important message. I got to tell you, watch out. Yeah, an earthquake which measured at least 6.5 on the Richter scale has struck American politics with the shocking defeat of Republican leader Eric Cantor in his Virginia primary, tossed out by a Tea Party candidate opponent who spent only $200,000 to defeat Eric Cantor, who spent $5 million. I got to tell you, it is a real shocker again in American politics, and it means that the Republican Party, which long ago tossed out any of its moderates that were left, like Dick Lugar of Indiana, now it's even tossing out its conservatives. I mean, you can't get more conservative than Eric Cantor. He was the chief opponent to anything that President Obama wanted, even though sometimes Speaker John Boehner was willing to make a deal with Obama. He was prevented from doing so by Eric Cantor. And now even Cantor is not conservative enough for the Tea Party extremists, and that means the party which is going to move further and further to the right. It means that President Obama will even have a harder time getting anything done in Congress. It means there's zero chance of getting immigration reform, and it means it's all the more important that we be here on Free Speech TV to let the American people know what's going on and how we can prevent this party from going off the deep end. And that's what Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and Amy Goodman and I do every day here on Free Speech. But, of course, we could never do it without your help. And this time of the year, we ask you to be as helpful as you can. Again, think about this for $50. If you can help us here at Free Speech TV, you can be invited to participate in a conference call with me to talk about the issues of the day, 1 hour long, on July 15. If you can help us with $120, $10 a month, we have for you a copy of one of these Free Speech TV tote bags, a copy of the Constitution, and you'll also be invited to join that conference call for $240 or $20 a month. A copy of one of these eco journals with its own recycled pen, and a Bill Press mug. How about that? For $360, $30 a month. All of the above, again, including that conference call. And for our very, very special friends, if you can, lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 a month, $1,000 rather total, you make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner. And we'll invite you to join us here, the whole team, in the studio the next morning to watch the Bill Press Show. Help us out, please, as much as you can by just going to freespeech.org or go for that magic telephone number, 877-378-8669. Remember, no corporate money, no government money, Free Speech TV. We depend on you. Thank you for being as generous as you can. And we'll see you around the block here on Free Speech TV every morning.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, live on your radio station, on your Free Speech TV, on TawkrTV, on YouTube. By the way, shout out to the TawkrTV channel. Again, it's youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. If you want a direct link to the show every day, follow us on Twitter at BP Show. We got a little chat room in there. Good morning to all the chatters. I see you out there. Dolores, Richard, Will. Cyprian's in there. Cyprian always mixes it up in there. A couple comments from there from Will in the chat room on TawkrTV. Says, Secretary Powell was right. You break it, you bought it on the situation in Iraq. So get in there, mix it up, have some conversation with some fellow like-minded full-court pressers there, youtube.com/TawkrTV. So onto the phones, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Chicago showing up strong. We go to Wayne in Chicago, listening on WCPT. Hello, Wayne.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear. With a booming voice, no less. I like that voice, Wayne.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Peter, at the beginning of the show, you said you didn't want to be annoying talking about the San Antonio Spurs. You have earned the right to be annoying.
I appreciate that, Wayne. I'm trying to, I know not everybody likes basketball, you know, but I'm a big basketball fan, and my team won last night.
Right. I mean, that was one of the greatest displays of teamwork. I mean, wow, that was just unbelievable, man.
Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate that, my friend.
Yes, but what I wanted to say was most of the Muslims of the world are peace-loving people. They're just like every other human being. They want what's best for themselves, what's best for their children. They want peace. But you got this very small segment that want world domination. That's what they really want. So what I say is we have to declare war on that segment. The whole world has to declare war on that segment who use Islam as a shield to be murderers and to seek world domination.
I think that's a good point, Wayne, and I hear what you're saying. That has, I think that's always kind of been the mission, right? But the problem is differentiating between the violent and the violence in Iraq and the peace-loving Muslims. The problem with Iraq is it's such a hornet's nest all around that, you know, for us to get in there and try and divvy up who's who, it's tough. It's tough. I appreciate the call, Wayne. Let's go to Zach in Chicago. Zach, listening on WCPT. Good morning, Zach.
Hey, good morning. Here's what I think. Americans, I mean, as a society, we have a very short-term memory. I mean, this whole Iraq thing, this started a generation ago. A lot of people don't even understand the history. They don't even know that it was George H.W. Bush that first went into Iraq. In fact, a lot of people don't even know who George H.W. Bush was. I mean, I'll bet you there's a good percentage of the population that doesn't even know that.
He's that skydiving guy, right? Yeah. Well, look, we're about to run out of time, so I'm going to have to cut you short, Zach, but I do appreciate the call, and thank you for calling in. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. 866-557-7377. Is that it? Did we just forget? Have we forgotten what a mess Iraq was? I want to hear from you. Coming up next, Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, just a little time out here for a very important message this morning. This is that time of the year when we ask you, just stop things a little bit, ask you to really help us here at Free Speech TV. We need your help to keep this great network going. And you know, I realized how important it is again the other day when I was on Fox News and somebody brought up the old phrase again, the liberal media. This just drives me crazy. I've heard this for so long. I mean, what liberal media is what I want to know. I mean, look across the board, the reality. In talk radio, for example, right, where I've made a living for a long time, talk radio, there are like 2,000 news talk stations in this country. Only about 50 of them are progressive talk radio stations. That's being like generous for 50. All the rest are right-wing talk stations all day long. Look at the newspapers. Look at the op-ed pages. The vast majority of columnists today are conservatives, if not Tea Party people. And then even look at cable television. Yeah, Fox News, 24/7. The communications arm of the Republican Party. Even MSNBC is not progressive all day long. The only progressive cable channel anywhere in the country, the only really 24/7 independent, totally independent, progressive voice in the country is Free Speech TV. That's why I'm so proud to be part of it, and that's why we really need your help, because no government money, no corporate money. We depend on you, and we ask you to help again and be as generous as you can. Got some special goodies for you if you can for $50. If you can help us with that, you'll be invited to participate in a conference call with me, 1 whole hour talking about the issues of the day on July 15. If you can help us with $10 a month, just $120, you will get a copy of this Free Speech TV tote bag, a copy of the U.S. Constitution, and you'll be also on that conference call with me on July 15 for $240. For $20 a month, a copy of this Eco Journal with a pen with it, and a Bill Press mug. There it is. this great recycled plastic mug. For $360, $30 a month, you get the whole, everything, all of the above, including the conference call. And if you can afford it, for $1,000 to keep free speech going, make your way to Washington, and Carol and I will take you out to dinner and invite you into the studio here to meet our whole team and watch the show the next morning right here in our studio on Capitol Hill. So we got the mug, we got the book, the journal, and the pen. What else we have? We got a copy of the Constitution, and we've got the free speech tote bag, and we've got the conference call on July 15, and then Whining and Dining with Bill and Carol Press here in Washington, D.C., if you can help us with $1,000. All of that. So do it today. Go to freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can, please. Or to the telephone number 877-378-8669. And thank you for keeping us on the air.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill today. Happy Monday, June 16, 2014. Coming up, we're going to be talking to National Journal Hotline Scott Bland, as we do every Monday. Plus, stick around the next hour. We have a very fun segment, a writer I'm a big fan of, Nevin Martell, is coming in studio. He does a lot of food writing and he's a sort of man about town here in Washington, D.C., but he also has a new book called Freak Show Without a Tent. We're going to talk to him about that book, so make sure you stay tuned for that. All right, also, a lot of the stuff over the weekend. I still want to take your calls on Iraq, by the way, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. And I see all y'all lined up already, so go ahead and keep calling in. We got plenty of phone lines open for you. Again, 866-55-PRESS, talking about the situation in Iraq and where we should go next. But I do want to play this clip because Eric Cantor came out to talk about his loss last week. One of the most stunning primary losses ever. Eric Cantor, what's next for Eric Cantor? Here he sort of talks a little bit about that.
I don't think that I want to be a lobbyist, but I do want to be play a role in the public debate.
In other words, he's going to be a lobbyist.
And remember last week he said, I'm still going to be a champion on all these issues.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. For the right price? Oh, yeah. He'll be everything you want him to be. He'll also get some sort of a gig on Fox News. Believe that. Let me tell you something. He's going to just belly flop into the lobbying money. He's going to be Scrooge McDuck swimming around in his money. I'm telling you. On Iraq, like I said, 866-55-PRESS. Where do we go next? Let's go to Anita calling from, look at that, San Antonio, Texas. Anita, good morning.
Good morning, Peter.
And how were you able to get any sleep last night with the horns honking, I'm sure?
I didn't sleep. I've been up all night.
That's what I wanted to hear, Anita.
Well, actually, San Antonio is exploding. I mean, it's been crazy. It really has been crazy. This seems sweeter somehow, than the previous years. It just really...
Oh, absolutely. By the way, if we could just park on that for just a second, all right? Everybody else, Anita and I are having a a little time here. Okay, let's have this. Look, to beat the team that beat us the way that they beat us last year, absolutely, and to come back and crush them. Every win was by over 15 points.
I know, it was very exciting. I mean, we were just so heartbroken last year, so it was just so sweet. And Tim Duncan, and this may be his final year, to see him, leave on top possibly. So
here's what I say, Anita, and Cyprian and I were talking about this earlier. I think Duncan comes back.
You think?
I do think he comes back. He even acknowledged last night he's near the end, right? I mean, he said he's closing out his career. I think he comes back. I think they keep the team together. They make another run for it next year. That's what I think.
Well, I hope so. I really do. I hope so. But he's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Absolutely. Well, what else is going on, Anita? By the way, Spurs fans go front of the line, okay? Let's just, Javon.
That's why we have
let
San
him know.
Antonio up.
Yeah, Spurs fans go front of the line.
You can talk Spurs all game.
I really could. I'm not sure how everybody would like that, but I could do it all day long. What else is up, Anita?
Well, as far as, the whole Iraq thing, I don't get why anybody cares what John McCain has to say, or the rest of those people that were so wrong. They just need to shut up.
I agree. There's this thing that our media, and thank you for the call, Anita. Go Spurs, go, and revel in it all day. I'm super excited. But there's this thing that our media does, right, where we just allow these folks to have another pass and another shot at being experts or being the authority go-to people on these issues that they've already proven themselves to not have a great grasp on. For crying out loud, Meet the Press had Mitt freaking Romney on yesterday to talk about the situation in Iraq. Are you kidding? Why? Have the Republicans seen a bigger loser? Yeah, Mitt Romney. That's your guy. That's your go-to guy. John McCain, Lindsey Graham. I mean, they'll say wherever the winds blow, man. They just they change their opinion on things, flopping around. It's crazy. It drives me nuts. Sherry in Chicago. Sherry, thanks for calling.
Hi, belated anniversary to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sherry. What are you, the sweetest? That's so nice of you.
What I want to say, what bothers me truly is the Republicans and the conservatives and the hold that they seem to have on the media. I was listening to the correspondents talking about a ditch that was some pictures of a ditch with supposedly Iraqi soldiers that were murdered by ISIS. She doesn't know if it's real or what. I said, this is the same crap that we saw with H.W. Bush before he went in, and especially with George W. Bush. We saw all these stories coming out of Iraq about mothers and their daughters supposed to be taken away and raped and all this stuff. So what scares me the most is that the media is going to fall for what is fed to them by the conservatives and Republicans, because they want us to go in this president. And you know that yourself, Peter.
Oh no, absolutely. Well, here's the thing, and Sherry, thank you so much for the call. This is the thing that worries me, right? So when the Syria situation popped up a couple months ago, the president said there's a red line that if they cross it and use chemical weapons, we'll get involved. President, remember, we tried to put together a plan to attack Syria. Maybe not boots on the ground, but airstrikes and going to destabilize the Syrian regime there. You remember that? Everyone remember that? It wasn't so long ago. I know it's that short-term memory thing is a real pain, but remember that? And the media held the president accountable for going to war. Right, and really pushed and questioned it. The American people certainly pushed back. It was a war that nobody wanted to get into, and I thought that we had learned our lesson, and Iraq being the teachable moment, if you will, on what happens when we start talking about invading other countries and trying to keep the peace of other countries, it doesn't work out that great. We have a pretty shaky track record there, if you know what I'm talking about. Joey in Chicago. Hey, Joey, good morning.
Good morning, Peter. Congratulations. Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Thanks, buddy.
There's no money for food stamps. There's no money for unemployment extensions. There's no money to fix the crumbling infrastructure in America. But there's always money for war. We got to get off this. We got to take care of Americans. We went over. If we couldn't straighten that country out in 12 years, there's no way we're going to straighten it out in another 12 years. And if Lindsey Graham, if that half a sissy wants to go over there, tell him to put his combat boots on and have him go over there himself. We're sick of fighting the rich people's wars. We're sick of it.
Rackham, Joey from Chicago coming on strong. Look, Joey, it is unsettling that we don't have money to help the middle class. We don't have money to take care of our veterans. We don't have money for the unemployed in this country. We don't have money to raise the debt ceiling. War? Cha-ching! Oh, we got money. Oh, we have money now. Yeah, we got money to go to war. But taking care of the people that go to war to fight those wars when they come home? Nah. No, we don't have money for that. It's sick. It really bothers me. And again, like I said, I thought we had sort of learned our lesson. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Richard in New York. Richard, good morning. Thanks for calling.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. Make sure you turn your radio off or your TV off in the background for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear myself yelling back there. You got that feedback. Okay. Is that what I sound like? Good grief. What's up, Richard? What's your point?
My point is that they because I kicked us out of Iraq. Unless they bring everybody to the table, all the fascists, they're not going to solve anything. Going back and bombing them is not going to do anything unless they bring everyone back to the table.
All right, thanks for the call, Richard. I appreciate it. Let's not confuse Afghanistan and Iraq. But yeah, look, we made the commitment to get out of there. We were going to let them solve this. We were going to turn it over. That's the whole point. When the Iraqi people stand up, we'll stand down. We followed the plan. For everybody that wants to say, oh, Obama has destroyed all the progress and gains that George W. Bush made when he was president, it's BS. This was the plan all along. We were not ever going to be in there and build the nation of Iraq. We were turning the responsibility of Iraq over to Iraq. That was the whole point. So we did that. And this is exactly what a lot of folks before the war were saying, that it's going to turn into this nasty, caustic, ugly soup. 44 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I am sitting in for Bill Press today. I appreciate all of the calls and comments, tweeting at BP Show and tweeting at Peter Ogburn. And remember, you can watch the show on Free Speech TV or on YouTube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR. We will be right back with more of the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, good to see you today, and glad you're enjoying the show. Now, just time out for a little important message. I've been on Fox News a couple of times lately talking about Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, and I got to tell you, boy, that experience reminded me once again of how Fox News is nothing but the media branch of the Republican National Committee. I mean, look at what they've been putting out there. Megyn Kelly insisting that George Bush never traded with terrorists. Oh, yes, he did during the Iraq War. Oh, yes, he did. We've done that all the way back to the Revolutionary War and George Washington. You also had Lou Dobbs putting a psychologist on his show to say that by making this trade, President Obama proved that he was irrational and, in fact, insane. Yeah, they put that woman on Fox News. Sean Hannity, of course, leading the pack, with people calling Bo Bergdahl, Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, a deserter. Bill O'Reilly even says, attacked the father of Bo Bergdahl, saying Bob Bergdahl looks like a Muslim because he has a beard. Has Bill O'Reilly ever seen Duck Dynasty? And yesterday, or the other day, I was on with Jim Pinkerton on Media Buzz with Howie Kurtz. Pinkerton, a Fox contributor, attacked the doctors at Landstuhl Hospital in Germany, saying that they were hiding Bergdahl from reporters because they knew if they allowed him to talk, it would be embarrassing for the Obama administration. That experience, I got to say, just shows you again how Fox is nothing but an arm of the Republican Party, but also it shows you how important it is to have Free Speech TV, the only independent, progressive, full-time, 24/7 independent channel in this country. I'm proud to be part of it, and I know you're happy with free speech too. But of course, without government funding, without any corporate funding, how does free speech survive? With your help only. That's why we turn to you a couple of times a year, like we are now, again, to ask you, who've been so generous in the past, to dig in again. Help us as much as you can. For $50, you get to take place in a 1-hour conference call with me on July 15. $120 or $10 a month, a Free Speech TV bag, a copy of the Constitution, and you'll also be on that conference call. For $240 or $20 a month, you'll get a Bill Press Eco Journal and a pen set, and a Bill Press mug. For $360 or $30 a month, all of the above, including, again, the conference call, and for the big prize, if you are lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000, you appreciate free speech that much, make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner here on Capitol Hill and invite you to come into studio the next morning and join us for the show. Please make your pledge as generously as you can today at freespeech.org, or just give a call to 1-877-378-8669. We need a lot of help for Free Speech TV to put the truth out there and answer all the lies that you see and hear on Fox News.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, live on Free Speech TV and live on TawkrTV. TAWKR-TV. It's youtube.com/TAWKR-TV. Also heard on your favorite progressive talk radio station. Thank you so much for tuning in. 48 minutes past the hour. Again, my name is Peter Ogburn. In for Bill Press. It's Monday, and as we do every Monday at this time, we check in with Scott Bland from National Journal's Hotline. Scott, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So let's recap. Still, the big news from last week is Eric Cantor losing his primary to Dave Brat, the political powerhouse known as Dave Brat. Have we now we're almost a week out? Have we come any closer to understanding why Eric Cantor lost so big?
I think so. The most interesting part of I shouldn't say the most interesting part. There are about a gazillion interesting parts. But one of the interesting parts after Cantor lost was watching the different sides of the immigration reform debate try and parse what this means for them, because immigration played a pretty big role in that Republican primary campaign. And you had anti-forces saying that Cantor left himself open by supporting quote unquote amnesty. You had the pro-forces saying immigration had nothing to do with it. As so often happens in politics, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, and there's honestly really no way to know exactly how much role it played. I think what we did find out for certain is something we kind of actually already knew as Cantor's campaign was really kicking into unusually high gear before he lost, which is that even though maybe incumbents don't lose re-election often enough for us to really kind of call an environment anti-incumbent with any sort of authority, the road is still a lot harder for incumbents to get renominated than it was, say, a decade ago. And whether or not that's the historical norm, I'm not really clear on. But what I do know is that compared to the previous decade, we're seeing a lot more incumbents finishing with, say, less than 60% or less than 65% of the primary vote than we used to.
Yeah.
A lot more are getting pulled into these dogfights, having to expend resources, having to think about their votes a little bit more than they used to, and that has obvious, overwhelming, meaningful effects. when everyone's more worried about their primaries than they used to be.
Yeah, I do think that's a really, really big part of it, is just the fact that Eric Cantor was not a Virginia. I mean, who thought of Eric Cantor as the politician from Virginia? You know, I mean, he's a national politician. Same way Mitch McConnell is a national politician, or Harry Reid is a national politician. I think that was a huge, huge part of it. Is it was less about issues and more about sort of the optics in that race.
Mm-hmm. I think that's absolutely something to do with it too. And again, this speaks more broadly to some incumbents in general. But if the first responsibility always has to be keeping up with what's going on at home. Mm-hmm. I know that there's obviously a lot wrong with some of the portrayals in this particular show, but I think it's House of Cards, where the House Majority Whip goes back to his district to deal with stuff in the middle of an enormous legislative crisis, right? The especially in retrospect, it seems like Eric Cantor kind of wasn't tending the home fires as much as he should be, and you could say that of a lot of members of Congress, even in this era where it seems like they all board planes every Thursday and come back on Monday to go spend time in their district. Even as National Journal has reported, when they're basing more and more staff in their districts as opposed to in Washington. It's still easy to kind of get out of touch with what's going on, especially in that small segment that elects people in primaries.
Okay, so we have a couple more primaries coming up: Colorado, New York this week or next week, and then we've also got Mississippi. Any big upsets on the horizon? Or any upsets you want to try and call now?
Well, obviously, Thad Cochran, having finished a close second in his first primary in Mississippi, is definitely an upset possibility. I think what people are now kind of keeping an eye out for is, so, Eric Cantor having lost really perked up everyone's ears, right? We've heard a lot of reports of members of Congress calling up their consultants on Tuesday night and asking them, "Hey, we're okay, right? Mm-hmm. Everything back in our district is fine, right?" And so, in terms of trying to find the next one of those, that's a really tricky prospect, right? Because the whole point is that these things are really surprising. Last year in Oklahoma, that was one of the surprises of the cycle, with now Congressman Jim Bridenstine winning his primary over a sitting member. Oklahoma's coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll see if something happens there. Congressman Doug Lamborn in Colorado has there's this kind of weird factional thing going on that's been going on in Colorado Springs ever since he came into Congress a few years back, and he's never done overwhelmingly well in his primaries. Plus, we hear he started negative radio ads against his opponent last week, right after Cantor lost. So he could be one to keep an eye on. I mean, the thing is, like, incumbents still lose barely at all. Apart from kind of redistricting related ones, there were only a handful last cycle. There were only a handful the cycle before that. There have only been 2 this cycle. So It's still rare, but everyone is worried about it now.
Yeah. Well, we're keeping an eye on it. Scott Bland, National Journal Hotlines. Scott Bland, I appreciate you joining us. We got to take a quick break. Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, my friends, hey, time out for just a very important personal message here about Free Speech TV. I've been at this media business for a long time, starting out in Los Angeles on KBC and KCOP and KBC Radio and KFI Radio, and moving to Washington to do Crossfire on CNN, and then Pat Buchanan and I going over to MSNBC, where we had a show called Buchanan and Press, and of course also in CNN, Tucker Carlson and I on a show with a show called The Spin Room. Started a nationally syndicated talk radio about 9 years ago, and then we were picked up by Current TV, and now simulcast, of course, on right here, Free Speech TV. And I got to tell you, I've never had more fun in my whole media career, because Free Speech TV is exactly what we have always wanted, we've always been looking for, which is a totally independent, totally freewheeling, progressive, left-leaning television channel to give us the news every day and give us an opportunity to talk about it. You don't find this anywhere else. But, of course, even though it's called Free Speech TV, it ain't free. And nothing is. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And we need your help, because the only way we can be as independent and freewheeling as we are is to take no government money, no corporate money. So Free Speech TV depends on you. And we ask you now this spring once again to dig in and be as generous as you can, and to help free speech stay, and all of your great favorite hosts stay on the air. As a little incentive for doing so, look at this. If you can share just $50, you'll be invited to join a conference call with me on July 15th, a 1-hour conference call. For $120, just $10 a month, you get a Free Speech TV grab bag, a copy of the U.S. Constitution, and you'll also be on that conference call. For $240, $20 a month, a Bill Press Show Eco Journal and a pen set and a Bill Press mug. For $30 a month, a $360 pledge, all of the above. And for $1,000, if you could afford that and help free speech with $1,000, make your way to Washington. Something very special. Carol and I will take you out to dinner here on Capitol Hill and invite you to come to the studio, join our show, sit in on the next morning's show. That'll be lots and lots of fun. So please be as generous as you can. These are tough times, I know, but help as much as you can by going to freespeech.org and making your pledge, or give the folks at Free Speech a call at 877-378-8669. That number again, 877-378-8669. Look forward very much to hearing from you and love being with you here every day on the news of the day to talk about it, but we need your help. Thanks for digging in.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Boy, journalism is such a glamorous gig. You know, I know how many people get into this whole thing for the money. That's what Chelsea Clinton did. Politico has the story when Rock Center with Brian Williams, the NBC show that was on a couple years ago, hired Chelsea Clinton to do very little work. Turns out she was paid $600,000.
Unbelievable.
You know, all those entry-level gigs that people just walk into, they get $600.
That's what about you pull that in, don't you?
Easy. Yeah, easy. Easy. It's the Bill Press Show. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hello, hello, hello. Greetings from our nation's capital. I got to tell you, in Washington, D.C., that the only thing everybody's talking about is the late, great Eric Cantor. Well, the late Eric Cantor, not so great. Yeah, boy. After getting walloped in his primary, he then stepped down as majority leader of the House of Representatives. Eric Cantor will soon be no more. He's going to finish out his term, and that is it. One of the big things, though, you got to recognize in David Brat beating Eric Cantor is that David Brat had no support practically from anybody in the establishment except right-wing talk show hosts Laura Ingraham and Mark Levin reminds me that, as we talked a little earlier, that the Tea Party people, the Koch brothers, pay these right-wing talk show hosts, including those on Fox News like Sean Hannity and others, to put their candidates on the air and to talk about their issues. They pay millions of dollars to these talk show hosts for that. I got to tell you, that's why it's so important that we have a strong, progressive cable channel like Free Speech TV to counter that kind of right-wing propaganda, to balance their lies and with the truth and tell the truth to the American people. We don't get that kind of special interest Tea Party money. We don't want it. We don't want any corporate money. We don't want any government money. We will be happy just to get along the way we do now with you. You are our only source of support, which is why we are not too embarrassed to turn to you again and ask you, if you really like Free Speech TV and you really like following the people on Free Speech TV, me and Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and others, then we ask you one more time to dig in and be as generous as you can to keep us on the air. To help you to do so, for $50, we'll invite you to join a conference call, 1-hour conference call with me on July 15 to talk about the issues of the day. If you can help us with $120 or just $10 a month, we will give you a copy of the Constitution, right? And let me get my list here. And you'll also be on that conference call, and a copy of one of these Free Speech TV tote bags for $240 a month. $240 or $20 a month. You get a Bill Press mug plus this Eco Journal with a pen. And for $360 or $30 a month, you get all of the above: the Constitution, the pen, the tote bag, the mug, and the conference call. And for those of you who can afford it and can help us with a pledge of $1,000, you make your way to Washington, and we'll have a lot of fun. Carol and I will take you out to dinner, and then we'll invite you in to watch the show the next morning here in the studio. Go to freespeech.org and make your pledge today, or give us a call at 877-378-8669 for the only truly progressive, truly independent TV channel out there today, Free Speech TV. We need your help, and thank you for doing so.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much.
I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years.
I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas.
I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, live on your radio and on TV. Good morning. Clearly, I am not Bill Press. My name is Peter Ogburn. I am sitting in for Bill today. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Bill is out. He will be back soon. He's not out all week, so I want you to make sure you stay tuned. I've already gotten all the hate mail. Where's Bill? Where's Bill? It's fine. I've gotten used to it. But thank you all so much for tuning in. You can watch us live on Free Speech TV and streaming live video on YouTube at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. Let's get all the essentials out of the way. Right off the bat, you can call us at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. We are tweeting at BP Show. A must follow over there. We have all kinds of stuff from the show all throughout the week, and Bill tweets live from the White House when he's there. I'm also tweeting at Peter Ogburn. Running the board today is Elisa Murphy. Good morning, Elisa.
Hey, good morning. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Thank you for coming in. Screening your calls at 866-55-PRESS is Javon Paris today. Alicia Cruz has the week off, so Javon is in. And if you were watching us on Free Speech TV or Talker TV, you are doing so because of the great work of Cyprian Bolney. I've already warned Cyprian, keep the lights back on me a little bit. We put a little Vaseline on the lens. I had a bit of an evening last night, staying up watching the NBA Finals. Started the afternoon, made a little cocktail to go to the pool with the kids for Father's Day, and just kept on going. So, yeah, we got the mood lighting on today.
You're looking very nice today, Peter.
Thank you. Aren't you sweet? This is my official I'm very hungover look. Beautiful. No product in the hair, t-shirt. Like I was wearing a hat earlier. I had to take the hat off. It's all right. I'm here. I put it that way. Well, when I was hosting, or when I found out I was hosting, one of the people I wanted to reach out to was a gentleman who joins us in studio now. His name is Nevin Martell. He's a food writer here in Washington, D.C. He's a writer of all sorts. And a couple weeks ago, I saw a trailer that you would put out for your new book called Freak Show Without a Tent, Swimming with Piranhas, Getting Stoned in Fiji, and Other Family Vacations.
That's right. I love it when you read it, man. You should have done the voiceover for the trailer.
Like, naturally, this is a book that I'm into. This is such an interesting premise, and I want to get into all of it with you. There's so much to talk about because just watching the trailer alone was such a fun setup for the story. So we got a lot to talk about, but first I just want to mention, over the weekend we got official word that Kasem has passed away, 82 years old. Kids of today do not know.
That's a shame.
They do not know how big of a deal Kasem was.
Huge. They're saddled with Ryan Seacrest.
Oh, my God.
Tragic.
Can you imagine? That's the real tragedy.
It is. No,
Kasem has created Carson Daly, Ryan Seacrest.
He spawned them, really.
He spawned them, yeah.
Yes.
But Kasem, there was no on-demand anything.
No. Every weekend you had to tune in.
You had to tune in. And what's even worse, what's even more hardcore are the times that I had my cassette player and I'd have my cassette tape ready.
You were that guy.
I was that guy. And I'd wait for him, and as soon as he would intro it, boom, I'd hit the record and the play, I'd record my song, and then I'd get the Kasem talk afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Just golden voice, good progressive, by the way, Kasem.
Absolutely.
On the right side of a lot of issues. Dead at 82.
Very sad. Keep, what was it? Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Keep reaching for the stars. That's right. I feel you.
Yeah. No. I mean, every week that was his sign-off. Yeah.
However, here's my favorite side of Kasem. This was one of
I think I know where you're going.
The first viral things ever. Yes. Seriously, this was one of the first viral things that just took off.
Yep.
So Kasem was on so many stations. He would record all these promos and liners for stations. And the way that, to pull back the curtain a little bit, for those of you who are not in this radio business, after the show, we'll sometimes sit around and we just record a ton of stuff, right? And the golden rule is the mic is always on.
Absolutely.
Kasem forgot that rule and his engineer recorded this outburst of Casey Kasem. We have bleeped it. But yeah, this was, like I said, one of the first viral pieces of audio I ever heard. Here's Casey Kasem.
I'm coming out of the record. Play the record, okay? Please. See, when you come out of those up-tempo numbers, man, it's impossible to make those transitions, and then you got to go into somebody dying. You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for, but damn it if we can't come out of a slow record. I don't understand it. Is Don on the phone? Okay, I want a damn concerted effort to come out of a record that isn't a up-tempo record every time I do a damn death dedication. Now, make it, and I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
What?
This is last damn time. I want somebody to use his brain to not come out of a damn record that is that's up tempo, and I got to talk about a dog dying.
There you go.
Wow, that was a long distance dedication right there.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Look, and Kasem comes from this line of just polished.
Yep.
You know, doesn't show a lot of backstory or personality in the sense that we didn't know a lot about him on air.
Right.
But that gives a little insight.
Yeah. It's funny because you expect that when you saw like the Bill O'Reilly outtake.
Yeah.
Like you expected that.
Absolutely.
But Casey, you're like, whoa.
Whoa. Exactly.
Casey, really?
Exactly.
The mouth on you.
And what happened to the pictures he was supposed to see? 12 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Okay, Nevin Martell is in studio with us. Freak Show Without a Tent. Tell us what this book is about.
So, growing up, instead of going to, say, Disney World or Club Med like most normal families, my dad seemed to be driven to take us to the far side of the far side. So, you know, we ended up in the Amazon going piranha fishing. We ended up in Fiji getting stoned at a kava ceremony. You know, we ended up on Vanuatu watching land diving. Don't get me wrong, I loved it all. It was fantastic. But it was definitely, you know, out of the way places doing off the record kind of stuff.
How old? I mean, this was from a very young age that you were doing this.
Yeah, I took my first trip when I was about 6 months old, and we didn't stop traveling. These stories cover about ages 9 to 17. So when I was cognizant enough to actually remember things and you know, have feelings about them, and I kept diaries during those trips, so that was kind of my primary source material.
Give me some insight into what those diaries were like, because I mean, I like as a kid, I wonder, were you just super excited to go on these things?
Totally excited.
Okay.
Totally excited.
All right.
And the diaries start out, you know, when you're 9 years old, you write down things like had croissant for breakfast, you know, like went swimming at pool. But by the time you're 17, you're writing like long diatribes about, you know, how your sisters annoyed you that day and how your dad's so unfair and like how your only solace is your mom, but she's not really on your side. So, I mean, the diary's complexity kind of evolved over time.
It's not so much about the travel at that point.
No. It's about the bad trip. Yeah. You know? So in the beginning, though, it was like going back, I was just embarrassed. You're like, I had like a record of every slice of pizza I ever ate in the South Pacific.
Totally normal.
It's like, well, first of all, why was I eating pizza in the South Pacific? Second of all, come on.
But it's that to me I find so funny because, like, you know, I'm a father of a 9 and a 6-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And we travel. Like I'm a big believer in like getting them out there and exposing them to some stuff.
Absolutely.
Have I ever taken them to get stoned in Fiji? No.
Maybe next year. I hear 2015 is going to be a bumper year for the kava crop. So I mean, you should go for it.
Come on, kids.
Come on down. Yeah.
What kind of struggles did you face as a kid? Because when you talk about, like, I guess what I'm getting at is that I can relate to the pizza thing.
Sure.
Like my kids, they'd be looking for the pizza. I would have been looking for the pizza and not necessarily appreciate my surroundings.
Absolutely. I think that there's a part of you, as a kid, we moved a fair amount and we traveled a lot, so I wasn't kind of stationary for a lot of the time. So I think when we did travel, like we lived in New Zealand, which was kind of the hub of our South Pacific travels, you know, a lot of the time I'd be really excited if I saw a G.I. Joe comic or a pack of M&Ms because it reminded me of the States. It reminded me of like the times in my life when I had been kind of stable. So there was a little bit of that, but by the same token, you know, I mean, my favorite books growing up were like Swiss Family Robinson, Robinson Crusoe. So this was like a real live version of that. So, I mean, I was really, really excited. So it was kind of a divide between kind of yearning for home and the familiar and also the desire to be exploratory.
Were you ever looking back on it, I guess, were you ever in any danger, do you think?
I think the only time we were really in danger was when we were in the Amazon, when was really kind of the last trip we took together as a family. And my father decided to get a guide that he'd never met that literally accosted us at the airport with like, I'll give you a free ride to the hotel. And my father was like, you're my best friend. You're giving me something for free in the middle of nowhere. And so he booked us on a trip up the Rio Negro with this other guy who he never met before. And, there had recently been a coup. And, we were kind of going into...
How old were you at this time?
17.
Okay.
So, we're heading up on the Rio Negro, which is kind of, like the worst place in the world if you've seen all the films and read all the books. And there was a lot of wildlife, like we went piranha fishing, which, looking back was probably not the smartest thing to do for a 17-year-old kid to be,
Yeah. Piranha fishing is something that I don't even want to know how that works. You just stick your finger in and just wait for them to come by with a net?
You throw chicken in.
Oh, is that right?
And you kind of get them frothing. And then you literally
Do you eat piranhas?
Yeah. They're actually quite good. It's like a light, flaky bass type fish. Not that at the end of it you really want to eat it. You just want to sit there and be like, thank you, God, for letting me live. Thank you, God, for letting me live. But actually, my dad got really angry with me because he had been looking for this bottle of Glenlivet to take with him because he was, he needed to have his 2 glasses before dinner. So we
even on the road.
Even on the road. And so we spent all this time before we left looking for Glenlivet. And near the end of the trip, I dropped it in the river. I had to jump between the boat and the shore, and I dropped the Glenlivet, and my father was like, you will get in the water.
Oh my goodness.
And I'll never forget it. I was like, but Dad, what about the piranhas? And he goes to me, piranhas don't drink scotch, but I do.
Oh my gosh.
Luckily for me, I'm obviously here, but my mom had been off and came and intervened. But it was like one of those moments in your life where you're like, okay, if I do what Dad says, I'll die. But if I don't do what he says, I'll die.
You'll die. Piranhas don't drink scotch. I do.
It was awesome.
I'm stealing that. I'm going to tell my kids that next time they screw up. I'm absolutely going to use that. Well, the book, again, Freak Show Without a Tent is the name of the book. Nevin Martell, the author, is in studio with us. Okay, so now that you're a grown man, you look back on these experiences. Do you feel what are your feelings with these experiences? Do you feel like you were done, that this was done well, or do you think that you missed out on some stuff? Where are you on it?
I think you can always look back and say, gosh, I wish I'd done something differently, or gosh, I wish I'd had a chance to do that. But to be honest, I mean, we had a chance to do something that 1 in a million kids gets to do. And I recognize that, and I really appreciate that. Now, is that my travel style today with my 17-month-old, my wife? We still like to go on adventures. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think we're more of a fan of situations that involve life preservers and airbags and things that weren't necessarily around when my dad was like, oh, should we should we take this rickety plane over to Pentecost Island and watch people dive off a tower in the middle of the jungle? He wasn't really thinking is the pilot sober? Is the plane airworthy? So I think today it's changed my sense of travel in the sense that I'm a little bit more cognizant of what's safe for my kid and what my kid's going to enjoy. And also my wife is, my mom was kind of just went along with it. She was along for the ride, and I think my wife would put her foot down a lot quicker than my mom did.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What would your wife's reaction be if you were to tell your kid, get in there and go get Daddy's scotch?
I think honestly, I probably would literally never hear the end of it. She would not stop talking. It would just be what the hell are you thinking? You're crazy. I would be sleeping on the couch for a good 7 years.
Yeah. Freak Show Without a Tent is the name of the book. Nevin Martell is the author. We're going to take a quick break. Stick around. We got more to talk about with the book. Again, Freak Show Without a Tent. Great stories of traveling with Nevin. More when we come back. It's the Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for being with us this morning on Free Speech TV. And now a very important message. I got to tell you, Watch out. Yeah, an earthquake which measured at least 6.5 on the Richter scale has struck American politics with the shocking defeat of Republican leader Eric Cantor in his Virginia primary, tossed out by a Tea Party candidate opponent who spent only $200,000 to defeat Eric Cantor, who spent $5 million. I got to tell you, it is a real shocker again in American politics, and it means that the Republican Party, which long ago tossed out any of its moderates that were left, like Dick Lugar of Indiana, now it's even tossing out its conservatives. I mean, you can't get more conservative than Eric Cantor. He was the chief opponent to anything that President Obama wanted, even though sometimes Speaker John Boehner was willing to make a deal with Obama. He was prevented from doing so by Eric Cantor. And now even Cantor is not conservative enough for the Tea Party extremists, and that means the party which is going to move further and further to the right. It means that President Obama will even have a harder time getting anything done in Congress. It means there's zero chance of getting immigration reform, and it means it's all the more important that we be here on Free Speech TV to let the American people know what's going on and how we can prevent this party from going off the deep end. And that's what Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and Amy Goodman and I do every day here on Free Speech. But, of course, we could never do it without your help. And this time of the year, we ask you to be as helpful as you can. Again, think about this for $50. If you can help us here at Free Speech TV, you can be invited to participate in a conference call with me to talk about the issues of the day, 1 hour long, on July 15. If you can help us with $120, $10 a month, we have for you a copy of one of these Free Speech TV tote bags, a copy of the Constitution, and you'll also be invited to join that conference call for $240 or $20 a month. A copy of one of these eco journals with its own recycled pen, and a Bill Press mug. How about that? For $360, $30 a month. All of the above, again, including that conference call. And for our very, very special friends, if you can, lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 a month, $1,000 rather total, you make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner, and we'll invite you to join us here, the whole team in the studio the next morning to watch the Bill Press Show. Help us out, please, as much as you can by just going to freespeech.org or go for that magic telephone number, 877-378-8669. Remember, no corporate money, no government money, Free Speech TV. We depend on you. Thank you for being as generous as you can. And we'll see you around the block here on Free Speech TV every morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, live on radio and TV. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. You can follow our guest, Nevin Martell, in studio. You can follow him on Twitter at Nevin Martell, NevinMartell, author of the book Freak Show Without a Tent, all about the travels that Nevin took as a young man with his family. So, when I got married, or whenever my wife and I found out that we were having kids, I remember my mom once told me, the thing you have to remember is when you have kids, you continue being married and you just bring the kids into the situation that you currently have. You don't have to change your life completely. Which I found out to be completely false.
Absolutely.
Completely false.
Yeah.
How did the travel with kids sort of play into your family life? How did it affect your parents?
Well, ultimately, my parents got divorced kind of at the end of all their travels together. There were a lot of straws that broke the camel's back. But I think kind of my dad's gung-ho adventures into the middle of nowhere, kind of not really taking everyone else's kind of lives into consideration, played a big role in that. And so, when I got married, I thought to myself, I still want to be adventurous. I still want to show my kids the world. I still want to travel with my wife, but I want to do it in a way that's comfortable for everybody and a way that takes everyone's desires into consideration. And so I think it's kind of made me a little bit more of a moderated traveler. I might still want to do the crazy things, but I'll pull back a little bit. There's definitely some headbutting and some chats about it, but that's
in a
totally
good way.
In a totally good way.
I think that's necessary. I think if you get in a situation where one person is just pushing forward, then you're going to end up in
absolutely
not a great situation. How's your relationship with your dad now?
It's awesome. My dad and I get along fantastically. He's one of my best friends. He's a good dude. I've always loved hanging out with my dad, and we had a chance a couple years ago, right before my son was born, to take like that one last trip together.
The baby moon.
The baby moon for me and my dad. I'd just done it with my wife a couple months earlier in Hawaii. And I didn't even know that phrase, by the way, before she was pregnant. It's kind of like mini moon. I hadn't heard about that before. I had to pay that bill too. But anyway, so I said to my dad, let's take one last trip. He had been thinking about moving down to Costa Rica and had fond memories of being there like 20 years ago. And so he's like, let's go fishing in Costa Rica. I was like, sounds like an awesome time. So for the first time ever, he let me plan the trip. Like he had given direction, like let's do Costa Rica, let's fish. Now you handle all the details, you plan it out the way you'd like it to roll out. And we had a fantastic time. We did some great fishing. We went to the hot springs. He even wanted to go zip lining. At 85, he wanted to go ziplining and only couldn't because it was raining so torrentially. They had closed the course the window we could go. But it was an awesome trip.
We have about 30 seconds. Let me just ask you this. Would you travel like this with your kids, or you think that you're a little more moderated?
I think I'd love to do some of those things with my kids, but maybe in a little bit more moderated way. With the full consent and love of my wife.
Of course.
But, I'd love to show him some of the strange parts of the world.
Freak Show Without a Tent is the name of the book. Nevin Martell is the author. He's been in studio with us for the past half hour. Follow him on Twitter at Nevin Martell and get a copy of the book, Freak Show Without a Tent. Nevin, thanks so much for coming in.
Peter, thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
It's the Bill Press Show. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey friends, just a little time out here for a very important message this morning. This is that time of the year when we ask you, just stop things a little bit, ask you to really help us here at Free Speech TV. We need your help to keep this great network going. And I realized how important it is again the other day when I was on Fox News. And somebody brought up the old phrase again, the liberal media. This just drives me crazy. I've heard this for so long. I mean, what liberal media is what I want to know. I mean, look across the board, the reality. In talk radio, for example, right, where I've made a living for a long time, talk radio, there are like 2,000 news talk stations in this country. Only about 50 of them are progressive talk radio stations. That's being like generous for 50. All the rest are right-wing talk stations all day long. Look at the newspapers. Look at the op-ed pages. The vast majority of columnists today are conservatives, if not Tea Party people. And then even look at cable television. Yeah, Fox News, 24/7. The communications arm of the Republican Party. Even MSNBC is not progressive all day long. The only progressive cable channel anywhere in the country, the only really 24/7 independent, totally independent, progressive voice in the country is Free Speech TV. That's why I'm so proud to be part of it, and that's why we really need your help, because no government money, no corporate money. We depend on you, and we ask you to help again and be as generous as you can. Got some special goodies for you if you can, for $50. If you can help us with that, you'll be invited to participate in a conference call with me, 1 whole hour, talking about the issues of the day on July 15. If you can help us with $10 a month, just $120, you will get a copy of this Free Speech TV tote bag a copy of the U.S. Constitution, and you'll be also on that conference call with me on July 15 for $240. For $20 a month, a copy of this Eco Journal with a pen with it, and a Bill Press mug. There it is, this great recycled plastic mug. For $360, $30 a month, you get the whole, everything, all of the above, including the conference call. And if you can afford it, for $1,000 to keep free speech going, make your way to Washington, and Carol and I will take you out to dinner and invite you into the studio here to meet our whole team and watch the show the next morning right here in our studio on Capitol Hill. So we got the mug, we got the book, the journal, and the pen. What else we have? We got a copy of the Constitution, and we've got the free speech tote bag, and we've got the conference call on July 15, and then wining and dining with Bill and Carol Press here in Washington, D.C., if you can help us with $1,000. All of that. So do it today. Go to freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can, please. Or to the telephone number 877-378-8669. And thank you for keeping us on the air.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes past the hour. It is The Bill Press Show, live on your favorite progressive talk radio station and on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR. So I mentioned I watched the Spurs game last night, the world champion Spurs, beating the Miami Heat to take the NBA championship last night. So I was watching that. And at halftime, I started switching around, and I went over to CNN. They had this 41 on 41 is what they called it. So it was all about George H.W. Bush.
Oh,
Not W, but the dad. I gotta tell you something. What a horrible waste of time that was.
Oh, really?
The George Bush, that George Bush presidency, meh. At best, meh. I mean, it wasn't as bad as George W. Bush. But all this crap about the family life and the family structure of all these spoiled, rotten rich kids. They had this, heartwarming story about one of the Bush kids who wrecked H.W. Bush's boat, put it up on the rocks on accident, and it's just like, come on. They had this dramatic music playing.
Crazy Life of Texas Tycoons.
Bush. Yeah, Pierce Bush is the kid. He's like one of the grandkids. And talking about how Gampy let me drive the boat, and he told me I could dock it, and, well, I goofed up and put it on the rocks, and I thought everybody was freaking out. Yeah, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
We've all been there when our privileged grandkids put our powerboat up on the rocks.
And luckily the $1 million boat was insured, so we'll be okay.
Yeah. There wasn't anything wrong with the boat. It just he put it on the rocks.
Oh, my goodness.
They had to wait for the tide to come out. They had to wait for the tides. Get out of here, man. It's awful. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. Speaking of presidents, so President Clinton, soon to be President Clinton. If you follow the media coverage, Hillary Clinton was out over the weekend. She went to Costco here in town to sign her books. or her book. Shout out to our friend Meredith Shiner from Yahoo. She was there covering it. She had a photo of what it looked like inside the Costco. And what they did is they essentially built a giant fort of water bottles, like pallets of water bottles around Hillary. And so they had the whole big line, and so then you waited in, and then you got in, and you went into these walls, this fortress of water bottles.
Water bottles.
I'm telling you, you got to go look at Meredith's feed, Meredith Shiner, on Twitter, at Meredith Shiner. It's good. It's good. But it got me thinking about, the forward progress of the Hillary Clinton machine. Because I'm a little less convinced that she's running for president than I was a week ago. And maybe that's just me, with my own jumping to conclusions. But I think that she had a rough week last week. I think it's clear she hasn't had to deal with the public and getting out there and addressing issues. But Democrats, I think, have already decided to crown her again. How'd that turn out last time? 2008, remember when Democrats crowned Hillary, and how'd that work out?
Not very well.
Not that great. I didn't go to Costco for the signing. Did you go to Costco for the signing?
No, I missed it. I've actually been to Costco for a number of signings. I saw Condi Rice there when she had her book came out.
Go to a Condi Rice signing.
I know.
What show do you work for?
But it was an interesting story. And Bill has the book too.
Did you go to
so
the
that's
protest?
Okay.
Did you go to protest?
I should have. But
did you get your book signed by Condi Rice?
Yeah, I actually did.
Hang on. I want to talk about this for a second. Did you buy Condi Rice's book?
I actually did, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a kind of a neat story of her upbringing.
I'm not faulting you. I find her story to be fascinating. There's a lot to be learned from Condoleezza Rice.
And when I was at Cal in Berkeley, see, I actually had a professor that worked with her at Stanford that used to kind of tell me these stories. And so it was because of her that I decided to read the book. So it wasn't a full love for Condi or anything. It was more understanding why this lady loved her so much.
All right, so just have your desk cleaned out by 3 o'clock today. And it's been great working with you.
Well, but Bill has the book too, in my defense. I got that cleared before I brought this up on air.
Did you? Yeah, to make sure. No, I get that. I can't think of any book signings I've ever. I take that back. I went to a book signing for Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, okay.
Who's been on the show? He was in town. He came on the show, and I had a signed book on the show, but then I actually bought another when I went to the book signing. Other than that, I don't think I've ever gone to a book signing.
I've actually followed David Brinkley around a little bit because he does a lot of historical books on the Roosevelts.
Are you 80 years old?
No. I just used to hang out with my grandparents a lot, so I like to identify.
The thing about David Brinkley is he signs your book, then he gives you a Werther's original, and it's like, thanks for coming out. No, I'm kidding.
There were some exciting people that showed up at the HRC signing, though.
Okay.
Chief Justice Sonia Sotomayor made an appearance. Huge publicity stunt.
Was she just there shopping?
I think she actually came for the books.
You don't say.
Maybe a shrimp ring.
Yeah, you gotta represent with that shrimp ring from Costco. Speaking of Hillary, by the way, this is a new poll from CNN. A new CNN international survey released this morning takes a look at how people think Hillary Clinton would address problems and issues today versus how they feel that President Obama, has faced it. And a majority think Hillary Clinton would do a good job on all 9 issues tested in the poll, better than the president.
Wow, who put that out?
It's CNN, a CNN poll.
Oh, that's interesting.
So the thing that I find interesting about that, though, is that they're starting to ask her about issues and ask people about Hillary on the issues, not just about Hillary the enigma, the candidate, the perennial candidate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I kind of agree with you with the whole running thing because she seems to be completely honest when she's talking. It doesn't really seem to be that fabricated or set up as you think it would be if it was a campaign-driven stunt.
I don't think that it's an age thing, which a lot of people are trying to make it out to be. I don't think it's a health thing. I think that she's probably going to realize, that the the machine when it kicks back into high gear. Like the media guns for Hillary, man. I mean, they just do. That's just all there is to it.
They really do.
And it's a tough position for her to be in. And she's probably gonna realize, like, what am I doing? Do I really need this grief? 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. 866-557-7377. Want to hear from you on a number of issues. Number one, does Hillary Clinton, or is Hillary Clinton going to run for president? Do you think that's the case? And also, do you think she can handle these issues better than the president? 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. I really do want to hear from you. Taking your calls here on the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, in for Bill Press. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. So good to have you with us today, and thank you for joining us for today's show. Just a little time out here to tell you about something that's really, really, really important. It's our spring pledge drive, and we really depend on you to come through. Let me put it in perspective. You know, I got a copy of this article. I saved this article. This is a couple of weeks ago from Politico.com, which talks about a big political rally down in Louisville, Kentucky, and who was the main speaker but Glenn Beck. And it was no surprise why Glenn Beck was there. This rally was sponsored by Freedom Works. That's that big political so-called grassroots organization funded by the Koch brothers. And the reason Glenn Beck was there was because over the last few years, Koch brothers, Freedom Works, have given Glenn Beck $6 million, reported right here. $6 million for him to talk about Tea Party issues and to interview Tea Party candidates. $6 million. He's not the only one. They've also been pumping money for the same reason into Sean Hannity, into Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin, Rush Limbaugh, all those other right-wing wacko talk show hosts to talk about, again, their issues and interview their people. Now, you know, here at Free Speech TV, we don't have that kind of money. We don't have that kind of political payback, and we don't want it. But we also, there's no government money either, Free Speech TV, and no corporate money. Here at Free Speech TV, the only people that we turn to and depend on exclusively, totally, is you, our viewers every day. So a couple times a year, we'd have to turn to you and ask you again to help and be as helpful as you can and as helpful as you've been in the past. Here are some special premiums that may influence you to give us some help. If you can just help us with $50, you'll be able to participate in a 1-hour conference call with me on July 15 to talk about the big issues of the day. For $120, you get a Free Speech TV bag, a copy of the Constitution. You'll also be on that conference call. $240 or $20 a month, an Eco Journal for the Bill Press Show, and a pen set, and a Bill Press mug for $360 or $30 a month. All of the above, including, again, that conference call. And if you are lucky enough to be able to give us $1,000, get your way to Washington, D.C., and Carol and I will take you out to dinner and invite you to join us right here in the studio to watch our show the very, very next day. So please give us a call or go online and make your pledge as generously as you can. The number to call is 877-378-8669. And the website is, of course, freespeech.org. We don't want any Koch brothers money. We don't want any Freedom Works money. We just want to hear from you. And thank you for being with us once again.
Your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, live on your favorite progressive talk radio station and live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Taking your calls on the Hillary machine, the Hillary campaign, as she continued her book tour over the weekend. Signing books at Costco. Look, they got the photos there, or the video. Look at all the water bottles.
I wonder why they did that. Oh, there's Sotomayor.
Look at that. Like, I want a water bottle fortress.
I mean, I guess that must have been a sponsor, right?
Well, I think look, I've never gone to a book signing at a Costco, but they usually sort of have bigger names sort of cordoned off a little bit, right, at a book signing. So I think this is probably a crowd control issue, probably a little bit of a security thing. Not that, I'm not sure how secure you are behind bottles of water. Yeah. I'd feel better, frankly. I'd feel safe. I'd feel like I was inside Fort Knox if I was behind all that water. Anyway, taking your calls, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Let's go to Beverly in St. David, Illinois. Beverly, good morning.
And how are you, Peter?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Well, I'm a little upset with you.
Oh, no. Oh, come on. Go
Yes,
ahead. Why?
I am.
What have I done now?
Well, you were patronizing to Hillary Clinton. First of all, she's running. Number two, last week wasn't a rough week for her. Give me a freaking break.
Here's my point, Beverly. First of all, I don't think it's patronizing to say that she's not going to run. I just am saying that the media, they come out, man. They got knives out for Hillary. And she should know that, right? But I don't know that she was quite ready to deal with the media the way that she should have been. She had a couple of moments where she talked about the flat broke comment or the dead broke comment. Like, come on now, you can't say that.
On the dead broke thing, they were $12 million in debt, so I would call that pretty broke.
When you say, look, Beverly, don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of Hillary Clinton's. I'm just saying, when you have the problems, or when you have the income that you do, when your husband is a former ex-president, when you're an ex-senator, when you've got all this stuff, you've got this type of money, dead broke is not the way to put your situation when you're talking about paying mortgages on your houses. You know what I mean? So let's go to Richard in Bryson City, North Carolina. Richard called us at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. Go Free Speech TV.
Yeah, man.
Hey, look, man, Hillary is a dangerous person. I mean, one of the most dangerous jobs to have is working for the Clintons. I mean, they've had some people that have died in strange ways. 30-inch barrel to the back of the head with a shotgun was one. A woman parked her car in the morning, walked away from it. When she came back from work, like 8 hours later, the car just broke loose and rolled over and killed him. Yeah, I mean, she should be hiding behind some water bottles. But the truth is, I can't understand why we're not
pushing. This is the voice inside your head, buddy.
Chill out. What are you talking about? You're one of these crazy people weighing in with the Clinton murder conspiracies? Jesus, Richard. What is wrong with you?
I look at things.
Get him off the phone, for crying out loud. What's wrong with you? Richard, come on, man. Yeah, look, you want to have a conversation about the type of politician Hillary Clinton would be. You want to talk about the type of policies she would put into place. Fine. I'm not going to outlaw anybody from calling into the show. I'm not going to outlaw anybody just going to disagree with me. We don't call in conspiracy theories murder. Hillary Clinton's a murderer.
Ultimately, he was talking about Elizabeth Warren, but I think he got a little sidetracked there.
Oh, you think?
A few voices were working.
You think he got a little sidetracked? Yeah, he got a little sidetracked. Well, look, that's fine. We'll go there. We'll go there on his point on Elizabeth Warren. Look, I hope Elizabeth Warren does run, right? I don't think we know a ton about Elizabeth Warren in terms of what kind of leader she would be on a national stage. Here's the thing. She doesn't want it. She doesn't want to run for president. She's shown no signs that she wants to get into it. She's shown no push to get anything started.
And she basically came out saying she wasn't going to run.
Yes. So what are you going to do? What are you going to wish somebody into running for president? That's not how it works. You're going to have that fire. I think Hillary Clinton had it. She probably got a little bit of a dose of remembering what it was like to run for president the last time around, when it's not going to be a coronation. And that's the thing, right? Like, if she's going to run, make her run. If Bernie Sanders wants to get in, make her run. Make her own up to some things that progressives may not like. Have a real progressive like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or someone out there to really sort of hold her feet to the fire and say, this is what the progressives of America are looking for. Absolutely. Don't crown her. Brian in Downers Grove, Illinois. Brian.
Good morning. How are you? I was just thinking of the same thing. It's like, most likely that'd be great if there's a, Hillary Clinton, but we need a progressive. We're done with the centrist Democrats. I mean, Obama, I voted for him twice. I get behind him, back him, but he's a centrist. When you really strip it down, we need a Bernie Sanders, like you said. And, that's really what it is. We need to call her out if she's really going to go that far. The media wants it because, well, let's face it, the centrist Democratic views that she has and holds, she'll push that. And
well, look, here's the thing, Brian. I'm not a Hillary hater. I know a lot of people that listen to the show will have problems with Hillary because she's too centrist or whatever. I think that's probably about the right place for someone to be to get something done, right? But I also think that Hillary has the experience and the knowledge of #ThisTown to get that type of stuff done. And I don't know that an Elizabeth Warren is necessarily going to have that type of experience. I don't. And look, God love Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders is probably too progressive to ever be president. Now, that doesn't mean he shouldn't run. I think he should run. Go for it. Get in there. Go full left, man. Go full moonbat. I'm all for it. But that will force whatever centrist Democrats that are in the race to answer for some of their more centrist views. That's all I'm saying. Give us a call, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Let's take a quick break. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm filling in for Bill Press today. Keep your comments coming on Twitter at BP Show, And also, you can follow me at Peter Ogburn. Well, hell, I wouldn't follow me. We'll be right back. It's the Bill Press Show. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends. Good to see you today, and glad you're enjoying the show. Now, just time out for a little important message. I've been on Fox News a couple of times lately talking about Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, and I got to tell you, boy, that experience reminded me once again of how Fox News is nothing but the media branch of the Republican National Committee. I mean, look at what they've been putting out there. Megyn Kelly insisting that George Bush never traded with terrorists. Oh, yes, he did. During the Iraq War. Oh, yes, he did. We've done that all the way back to the Revolutionary War and George Washington. You also had Lou Dobbs putting a psychologist on his show to say that by making this trade, President Obama proved that he was irrational and, in fact, insane. Yeah, they put that woman on Fox News. Sean Hannity, of course, leading the pack with people calling Bo Bergdahl, Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, a deserter. Bill O'Reilly even says, attacked the father of Bo Bergdahl, saying Bob Bergdahl looks like a Muslim because he has a beard. Has Bill O'Reilly ever seen Duck Dynasty? And yesterday, or the other day, I was on with Jim Pinkerton on Media Buzz with Howie Kurtz. Pinkerton, a Fox contributor, attacked the doctors at Landstuhl Hospital in Germany, saying that they were hiding Bergdahl from reporters because they knew if they allowed him to talk, it would be embarrassing for the Obama administration. That experience, I got to tell you, just shows you again how Fox is nothing but an arm of the Republican Party, but also it tells you how important it is to have Free Speech TV, the only independent, progressive, full-time, 24/7 independent channel in this country. I'm proud to be part of it, and I know you're happy with free speech too. But of course, without government funding, without any corporate funding, how does free speech survive? With your help only. That's why we turn to you a couple of times a year, like we are now, again, to ask you, who've been so generous in the past, to dig in again, help us as much as you can. For $50, you get to take place in a 1-hour conference call with me on July 15. $120 or $10 a month, a Free Speech TV bag, a copy of the Constitution, and a You'll also be on that conference call. For $240 or $20 a month, you'll get a Bill Press Eco Journal and a pen set and a Bill Press mug. For $360 or $30 a month, all of the above, including, again, the conference call. And for the big prize, if you are lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000, you appreciate free speech that much, make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner here on Capitol Hill and invite you to come into studio the next morning and join us for the show. Please make your pledge as generously as you can today at freespeech.org, or just give a call to 1-877-378-8669. We need a lot of help for Free Speech TV to put the truth out there and answer all the lies that you see and hear on Fox News.
On Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV, this is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, indeed. It is the Bill Press Show. Live video on YouTube at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. Also on Free Speech for just a few more moments here. So make sure you're tuning in and watching the show and listening, of course, either on BillPressShow.com, on your favorite progressive radio station, or on the TuneIn app, usually the Progressive Voices channel. Check it out. What is the president up to today? Well, he is still in California, but he is headed home today, 10 a.m. Pacific time. So plenty more time there on the left coast. He's going to take off, heading back to Andrews Air Force Base, going to land here around 5:15, back at the White House at 5:30. Because, you know, that's a normal commute from Andrews Air Force Base to downtown Washington, D.C., 15 minutes.
A little long, actually.
A little longish. A little on the long side of things there. Deputy Press Secretary Josh Earnest will gaggle aboard Air Force One, so there will be no White House press briefing. So I know a lot of you are probably going to be missing Bill's tweets from the White House press briefing, but he wouldn't have been here anyway to do a White House press briefing. There isn't going to be one. So, like I said, my name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. We have one more hour coming up, and what an hour it's going to be. We're talking a little bit of basketball. We have a new world champion, NBA champs. We'll talk about that. Plus, we'll talk about the fight for Republican leadership now that Eric Cantor has been voted out. It is the Bill Press Show. Stay tuned. Lots more coming up. Thanks for watching.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hello, hello, hello. Greetings from our nation's capital. I've got to tell you, in Washington, D.C., that the only thing everybody's talking about is the late, great Eric Cantor. Well, the late Eric Cantor, not so great. Yeah, boy. After getting walloped in his primary, he then stepped down as majority leader of the House of Representatives. Eric Cantor will soon be no more. He's going to finish out his term, and that is it. One of the big things, though, you got to recognize in David Brat beating Eric Cantor is that David Brat had no support practically from anybody in the establishment except right-wing talk show hosts Laura Ingraham and Mark Levin, reminds me that, as we talked a little earlier, that the Tea Party people, the Koch brothers, pay these right-wing talk show hosts, including those on Fox News like Sean Hannity and others, to put their candidates on the air and to talk about their issues. They pay millions of dollars to these talk show hosts for that. I got to tell you, that's why it's so important that we have a strong, progressive cable channel like Free Speech TV to counter that kind of right-wing propaganda, to balance their lies and with the truth and tell the truth to the American people. We don't get that kind of special interest Tea Party money. We don't want it. We don't want any corporate money. We don't want any government money. We will be happy just to get along the way we do now with you. You are our only source of support, which is why we are not too embarrassed to turn to you again and ask you, if you really like Free Speech TV and you really like following the people on Free Speech TV, me and Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and others, then we ask you one more time to dig in and be as generous as you can to keep us on the air. To help you to do so, for $50, we'll invite you to join a conference call, 1-hour conference call with me on July 15 to talk about the issues of the day. If you can help us with $120 or just $10 a month, we will give you a copy of the Constitution, right? And let me get my list here. And you'll also be on that conference call, and a copy of one of these Free Speech TV tote bags for $240 a month. $240 or $20 a month. You get a Bill Press mug, plus this Eco Journal with a pen. And for $360 or $30 a month, you get all of the above: the Constitution, the pen, the tote bag, the mug, and the conference call. And for those of you who can afford it and can help us with a pledge of $1,000, you make your way to Washington, and we'll have a lot of fun. Carol and I will take you out to dinner, and then we'll invite you in to watch the show the next morning here in the studio. Go to freespeech.org and make your pledge today, or give us a call at 877-378-8669 for the only truly progressive, truly independent TV channel out there today, Free Speech TV. We need your help, and thank you for doing so.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. It's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much.
I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years...
I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas.
I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Good morning. Happy Monday. It is The Bill Press Show, June 16th. Thank you so much for tuning in. Clearly, I am not Bill Press. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill today. He'll be back later on this week. Thank you for all of your constructive criticism and not so constructive criticism. I've gotten a lot today. It gets bad today.
Everybody loves you.
No, I'm getting a lot today. Like, I always get a little bit of heat, you know? Like, I always...
a little bit of heat.
I always catch... Oh, whoops.
Ooh.
I always catch a little hell when I host, but I'm getting a little bit more than usual today. So thank you.
Someone's got to give it to you.
Right? Apparently. You can watch the show, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV, heard on your favorite progressive talk radio station and streaming on the TuneIn app. Check us out there. Running the board this morning is Elisa Murphy. Elisa, hello there.
Hey, good morning. Happy
nice to
Monday.
See you. Happy Monday.
You too.
Javon Paris is screening your phone calls at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. And if you are watching the show, that is because of Cyprian Bolding, our video operations man, keeping us on air. Cyprian, by the way, I mentioned this in the first hour. We had a little Bill Press function over the weekend. The Bill Press team, we all hung out. And Cyprian had another engagement. Cyprian showed up in a suit. That's the first time I've ever seen Cyprian in a suit. So looking good, Cyprian. Cyprian and Mrs. Bolding showed up in a black dress.
Beautiful.
Come on now.
Yeah. Well,
and then he drank all of the beer.
Mrs. Ogburn looked very nice, too, in her white dress.
Mrs. Ogburn was there. Yeah, she was there. We all had a good time. We are joined in studio now, by the way. We should get this out there. From the Washington Examiner, because she's chimed in. I want you to know who we're talking to. Kelly Cohen from the Washington Examiner.
Hi.
Kelly, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. It was a hard wake-up, I'm not going to lie.
All right, so I asked Kelly to come in because you are an absolute treasure on Twitter.
Am I?
Yeah,
People say that, but I don't see it.
No, it's fun. It's fun. You're a fun follow on Twitter. Follow her on Twitter at Politicohen.
Yes. Come on, that's creative.
I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
I love it.
I don't work for Politico.
And then you've got, get that out there. Politicohen _ after the end.
Get me to 2,000 followers. Come on.
We will do our best. We will do our best. Go follow her, Politicohen _ there. So you're with the Washington Examiner.
Yes.
What's
I'm on
your
the Watchdog team.
The Watchdog team.
The Watchdog team. A lot of people don't really get when I say Watchdog. What does that mean? So I like to say investigative.
I think McGruff the crime dog.
Okay, no.
Is that not?
Maybe. I mean, maybe. It's me and three guys. When we do is we just kind of hold the government accountable.
Okay.
Which I really like because it's not down party lines. So it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. It's government waste. It's government fraud. It's like a lot of people, when I tell them when I'm out, they don't get it. So I say, think about the IRS scandal, that whole thing, the targeting, the groups. That was on an Inspector General report.
Okay.
So that's what we do. Those reports, they come out all the time. There's the GAO. Every agency has one, even like the most random. Like, think about the most random government agency. Like, they have an inspector general, and they look after things. There's good reports, like, oh, they didn't waste money, they're good to go. EPA, like, oh, we gave $200,000 for Sandy relief, and $180,000 of it went to not what it was supposed to go. So it's fun. It's good, and there's always a story, like, whether whoever's in charge, the government's always doing something wrong.
I was going to say, that's one thing you, never have to worry about.
There's always something
running
fun,
out of material.
And we get to, enterprise a lot of the stories. So, my three coworkers, my coworker, Mark Flatten, he has really spearheaded the Veterans Affairs thing. So he's been doing that for 2 years basically now.
Yeah,
now people are catching on.
Yeah.
My other coworker does the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He's been nailing that one, Richard. And then my other coworker, Luke, he's really good at just finding the most random stories about this. He did some agency that, I guess at the end of the year, government workers are always supposed to donate money. They're like, oh, donate some money for charity. It's Christmas, it's the holidays. And there was this whole agency called the CFC that basically got paid to solicit people for charity, but they spent all the money on going to bars and stuff. So it's fun stuff, and then you can play around and you can hook people with some fun leads. So
nice, I like it. So again,
keeps me entertained.
Make sure you're following her on Twitter, Politicohen and WashingtonExaminer.com. You mentioned it was an early hit this morning.
Yeah.
So I had asked you. I asked you a week ago.
Yeah.
If you wanted to come in, because I like your style. I think you're funny. I want you to come in and just shoot the breeze. One of the things that you will notice if you follow Kelly on Twitter is that you are one of the most vocal fans of the Miami Heat.
Yes. Yeah.
So are you from the area?
I am from
Okay,
Miami,
all
yeah.
right.
So both
you
my parents went
claim
to the U.
Okay.
So I lived in Kendall for a little bit, and then I moved to Tennessee, which people are always like, that's random. And now I live I live here, but my family lives on the West Coast. So I'm a diehard every Miami sports team. Like,
Mhm.
I grew up with Miami Hurricanes football.
Mhm.
You know, my parents put that in me. I love it. And then once I finally figured out what NBA was, which was around when I was 15, was around when Dwayne Wade came in.
Mhm.
And then it hooked me. And I don't get why people hate the NBA. Like, I love it. And, you know, I got to hand it to the Spurs. They were great. And Kawhi Leonard won it yesterday on Father's Day. And I think it was 6 years after his father was killed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was moving and it's great. And one of my best friends is actually from San Antonio, and we haven't been talking. So now we can talk again. But it's good. They deserved it. I hope the big three stay. I could talk about sports forever.
Well, let's just, so in case you missed it, last night was Game 5. The San Antonio. Do you have the call, by the way, Elisa? Because I just want to just twist that knife. The final call of the Spurs winning Game 5 last night. Let's hear it.
And this ball game is over. The San Antonio Spurs have won the NBA championship, and they will celebrate this title in Europe, South America, Australia, the Virgin Islands, Canada, and especially here in San Antonio. The Spurs have captured their 5th NBA championship. It's time to celebrate, San Antonio.
Bill Schoening from WOAI with the call. A little Howard Dean-esque there.
Ugh.
We're going to the Virgin Islands. We're going to Canada.
But come on, how much celebrating can you do in San Antonio? You know they would have wanted to be down in Miami. Like, I mean, Texas is a fun place, but it's no Miami.
By the way, his reference there to all the different countries. All the Spurs have an international team, right?
Every starter is from another country except for Kawhi Leonard.
Tim Duncan, exactly. Yeah. Tim Duncan from the Virgin Islands. Mm-hmm. Tony Parker is French.
Manu Ginobili,
Argentina. Boris Diaw is French. Boris Diaw.
He is
That's a big dude.
He's funny.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. So, but all right. So my ties to the Spurs. Before I worked for Bill, I actually worked for the Spurs, and so this was in 2005 that Bill hired me to move from San Antonio. That was one of the many years that they won an NBA title. And so after the game, I got my car and I started driving from San Antonio to here. But I wasn't I was always aware of the Spurs because I was like David Robinson. I was a decent basketball player in my time, but I was like David Robinson. Shut up, Cyprian! I hear you laughing.
I mean, I can't shoot a basketball. I was telling my friend, one of my best friends, she's from Miami. She's like, can you shoot a basketball? I was like, nope.
I used to be legitimately good. These days, I mean, I had kids that got old. Like I've I got a decent mid-range jumper, but that's about it. I mean, I don't get out there and grind it out anymore. I'm not like an eat rock power forward like I used to be.
You and Kevin Durant can play a pickup game.
You
and John Wall and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, that would be
big
bad.
three, the new big three.
That would be bad. But after I left San Antonio, I like the organization so much. I do like the way that they do things. Yeah. So this was, and I'm not trying to rile you up, right?
But if I just start crying?
This is the rub between the two teams, right? So you've got the San Antonio Spurs who've had the same
I know what you're going to say.
Team forever and ever and ever and ever, right? Like 15 years or whatever. They've had this core group of guys. You got Greg Popovich, the coach, who's been there forever. You got Tim Duncan, stayed with the same team forever, didn't move around.
Yeah.
They all work together as a team, right? They build the team up. And then you have the Miami Heat, who weren't bad, and then they went out and they got LeBron James and Chris Bosh in the now mega move. Mm-hmm. And so the rub on them is that, like,
they're star-centric.
They're star-centric. Yeah. They went out and they picked a couple of stars to come out and play their brand of ball, which, look, worked. They won back-to-back championships.
And they went 4 years in a row. And a testament of how hard it is to three-peat is that the Spurs have never been in a back-to-back championship.
That's right.
You got to remember that. For as good as they are, it's their 5th title since 99, right?
Yeah.
They've never actually been back-to-back. So
That's
for
right.
the Heat to go 4 years in a row, win back-to-back titles, and San Antonio was pretty good last year too. I mean, we were.
They
lucky.
Nearly, exactly.
I mean, literally. If
as a Spurs fan, they should have won last year.
I'd given up. I'm not gonna lie, but I love sports for the reason that you see. I'm happy the Spurs won, and now I got to sit around and do what with sports now.
But here's the part of the whole Heat thing is, so like in the middle of this series, you start hearing these rumors come out that maybe the Heat are going to go after Carmelo Anthony. This is the worst, right?
Come on, like. And
the guy's poison.
I'm not going to lie, I also hated LeBron James when he joined because I started liking the Heat when I was 15, when Dwayne Wade was there and Alonzo Mourning was there. And I was like, these are all, like, I love Dwayne Wade. I hated him in this series. I thought, should I burn his jersey? But I would never. And I was like, LeBron, like, this guy, selfish, so self-entitled, but he's really worked through. And I mean, he is a great role model. Like, think about it. He's a great father, great
absolutely.
player, and I'm happy.
Well, this is one of the things I wanted to get into with you because I'm not a LeBron hater.
Yeah.
I think that he has handled some things very poorly in his career.
Was the decision the smartest thing? No.
No, absolutely not. And I think even he would probably say.
Yeah, but if you read the articles, and that's like another great thing that I love about sports is on the flip side, you get all this great sports journalism. And I've read like some of the most amazing pieces just in the finals on all these people that you would never read if they weren't in the finals. And that's what.
So why do people hate LeBron James?
I don't know. I wish I knew. Tell me. I wish, like, I think it's just because he is a little, I mean, he was 16 and he proclaimed himself to be the best ever. Like, I'm going to be, it's the cockiness.
I think it's part of the, you know what I think it is? I think he could get away with some of the cockiness if he delivered.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he did. I mean.
Here's the thing. When you call yourself the greatest ever.
It's hard.
And look, I don't want to take away from what he's done because he is without a doubt the greatest basketball player playing right now.
And he built himself up. But I was thinking last night, like, the media and the fans kind of have to take a blame because we put him on that pedestal and now we're just tearing him down.
Yeah.
Like, he deserves a lot of respect. But it's just interesting, like, Kevin Durant won the MVP. I mean, he's quiet about it. He's this humble, quiet guy, cries. He won the MVP, couldn't take his team far.
Yeah.
But no one really gave him any crap.
I did.
Did you?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Back
no
me
one
up.
really
I did.
But you know what I mean? No one really did. And LeBron puts himself out. He's an easy target. He puts himself out there and he takes it and he's learned. I mean, since 2011 when they got walloped by the Mavericks, he's learned. But we deal.
LeBron James now has a losing record in the NBA Finals.
I know. Wow. Twitter was mean last night.
Twitter was.
And I wanted to get off of it, but like I couldn't because it was like I couldn't look away. But we deal.
So what happens now? What are the big three staying in Miami, you think?
I think so. I honestly, after seeing Dwayne Wade's performance this finals, I wouldn't be surprised if he resigned. But I think they're going to stay. I think we're going to see Mario Chalmers go. If Melo comes, I'm probably going to be really upset. We'll see. Pat Riley's genius.
If Melo comes to the Heat, look, come. I'll give you a Spurs jersey. Come join the dark side. Switch teams.
What if LeBron came to the Wizards?
LeBron ain't coming to the Wizards. LeBron ain't coming to the Wizards. But
I think Kevin Durant should come to the Wizards.
Again, I don't. Yeah, I love that idea.
I love it.
Local guy.
Yeah.
I'm not a LeBron hater. I think LeBron, if he wants to go wherever.
He would get so much.
He would get destroyed.
He would have to leave. Like,
but you know what? Like, that's just how it goes these days. You're not going to see a Tim Duncan again.
Yeah, I know.
You're not going to see a Tim Duncan.
That's what I did appreciate.
Career.
Like, I appreciated Tim Duncan. I mean, he's a goofball. He's a goofy-looking guy. Come on, the eyes, the
boring.
Yeah, like the tweets last night were funny. I saw one that was like Tim Duncan celebrating drinking his glass of milk, and he stops and puts some chocolate milk in it and says, "No, I'm going to really."
It's a special night.
Yeah, it was like he's going to squirt some chocolate in and be like, "Nope, the celebration goes on." Or it was like, there were some funny one about like a microwavable dinner. It was like Tim Duncan's going to heat up his microwavable dinner and burn it, and then he's going to eat it. That's the celebration Tim Duncan's going to go. Like, that's what made me a little happy is that I saw some funny tweets. And then there's the tweets like, LeBron, like, you're the worst person alive. Dwayne Wade's the worst person, but we'll be back. I could talk about this all day.
I would love to hear from you at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. I know, we're talking sports, whatever, come at me. But
you gotta love it.
The idea of LeBron James being maligned and sort of becoming, the face of what sports should not be, right? Like, I don't necessarily buy into it. I can see why some people would have that thought. But give us a call, 866-55-PRESS. We're talking NBA Finals. We're talking Miami Heat, LeBron James. Seriously, I would love to hear from you at 866-55-PRESS. In studio with Kelly Cohen from the Washington Examiner. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thanks for being with us this morning on Free Speech TV. And now a very important message. I got to tell you, watch out. Yeah, an earthquake which measured at least 6.5 on the Richter scale has struck American politics with the shocking defeat of Republican leader Eric Cantor in his Virginia primary, tossed out by a Tea Party candidate opponent who spent only $200,000 to defeat Eric Cantor, who spent $5 million. I got to tell you, it is a real shocker again in American politics, and it means that the Republican Party, which long ago tossed out any of its moderates that were left, like Dick Lugar of Indiana, now it's even tossing out its conservatives. I mean, you can't get more conservative than Eric Cantor. He was the chief opponent to anything that President Obama wanted, even though sometimes Speaker John Boehner was willing to make a deal with Obama. He was prevented from doing so by Eric Cantor. And now even Cantor is not conservative enough for the Tea Party extremists. And that means the party which is going to move further and further to the right. It means that President Obama will even have a harder time getting anything done in Congress. It means there's zero chance of getting immigration reform. And it means it's all the more important that we be here on Free Speech TV to let the American people know what's going on and how we can prevent this party from going off the deep end. And that's what Tom Hartman and Stephanie Miller and Amy Goodman and I do every day here on Free Speech. But, of course, we could never do it without your help. And this time of the year, we ask you to be as helpful as you can. Again, think about this for $50. If you can help us here at Free Speech TV, you can be invited to participate in a conference call with me to talk about the issues of the day, 1 hour long, on July 15. If you can help us with $120, $10 a month, we have for you a copy of one of these Free Speech TV tote bags, a copy of the Constitution, and you'll also be invited to join that conference call for $240 or $20 a month. A copy of one of these eco journals with its own recycled pen, and a Bill Press mug. How about that? For $360, $30 a month. All of the above, again, including that conference call. And for our very, very special friends, if you can, lucky enough to be able to afford $1,000 a month, $1,000 rather total, you make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner, and we'll invite you to join us here, the whole team in the studio the next morning to watch the Bill Press Show. Help us out, please, as much as you can by just going to freespeech.org or go for that magic telephone number, 877-378-8669. Remember, no corporate money, no government money, Free Speech TV. We depend on you. Thank you for being as generous as you can. And we'll see you around the block here on Free Speech TV every morning.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we are. It's The Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. I just finished giving Kelly Cohen from Washington Examiner plenty of grief for the San Antonio Spurs beating her Miami Heat last night.
I didn't cry, so.
You didn't cry?
No, I cried last night.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. If you didn't cry,
morning. My neighbor came home and I
was
was sitting on like the step of my building, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "It's okay."
You know, when the Spurs lost Game 6 last year, I was in Las Vegas when it happened, and I thought I was going to get shot because I was the most obnoxious person
Actually, my friend was in Vegas.
on the planet.
Yeah.
Just talking to everybody, because everybody there is a Heat fan, because they got money on the game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, Ray Allen just...
I was crying that game.
I believe it. I was crying that game.
Everyone was.
So you're here in Washington. You watch the goings on here in Washington. One of the things that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on in the show is Eric Cantor and the fight for GOP leadership, and we're still sort of asking ourselves and wondering what happened to Eric Cantor. Why did he lose? And I think one of the big things is just this anti-Washington or anti-establishment Washington bias. You're here a lot. You're out and about.
Yeah.
What's your take?
I think that's it. I think people are just tired. Like, what has Congress done lately? And but everyone says it, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it's true. The last thing that I know Congress did was they made like a National Whiskey Day or a National Bourbon Day. That's the last thing I remember hearing that Congress did.
Yeah.
I don't like.
They're getting stuff done.
Yeah, and then you've got.
To be fair, that's very important.
I mean,
to a
it
lot
is.
of us.
Same, but no. I mean, it's just interesting. And then you see what's going on with the VA, and it's no good. And then Eric Cantor. I think what happened was, and my mom and I were talking about it a little bit, and she kept saying, she's like, the truth comes out, and I guess just Eric Cantor wasn't what the people wanted, and. If he didn't connect with his constituents, he's over at STK eating $5,000 steaks, which, hey, must be nice. But, I mean, if that's what it was and you need a change, and why not?
I think that's a good point. I think that when you have these politicians that become national politicians instead of
like,
local
what about
politicians.
Me?
Right,
like,
exactly.
What about me? And his people were probably like, what is Eric Cantor doing for us lately? He's just smiling on TV, or that there was the photo from the State of the Union where he looks like he's in pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Eric Cantor, Mitch McConnell, Harry Reid, even, like, these are national politicians. They don't.
What are they doing?
Right. And so this guy, Dave Bratt, comes in and beats Eric Cantor.
He had 2 paid staffers.
2 paid staffers. One of them just graduated college.
23-year-old, right?
Like, how great is that?
Great.
Kids living the dream.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, he's spoiled now, the campaign manager. So next time around, he's going to be like, he's going to think he's going to win everything.
All these campaign managers that have worked on these just titanic campaigns that they could just see going down.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to need 1 or 2 of those.
It's interesting. I don't know. Congress is always, it baffles me. And we were talking earlier and talking about what our thoughts are on politicians. Like, I can't think of a politician that drives me absolutely crazy in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think that resonates for all of Congress. And I can't think of someone where I'm like, oh, I love this guy or girl, either side of the aisle.
I think a lot of people feel that way. All right, Kelly Cohen from the Washington Examiner. Thank you so much for coming in.
Awesome.
Follow her on Twitter at PolitiCohen with an underscore at the end.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you again soon.
This
next time.
is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. So good to have you with us today, and thank you for joining us for today's show. Just a little time out here to tell you about something that's really, really, really important. It's our spring pledge drive, and we really depend on you to come through. Let me put it in perspective. I got a copy of this article. I saved this article. This is a couple of weeks ago from Politico.com, which talks about a big political rally down in Louisville, Kentucky, and who was the main speaker but Glenn Beck. And it was no surprise why Glenn Beck was there. This rally was sponsored by Freedom Works. That's that big political so-called grassroots organization funded by the Koch brothers. And the reason Glenn Beck was there was because over the last few years, Koch brothers, Freedom Works, have given Glenn Beck $6 million, reported right here. $6 million for him to talk about Tea Party issues and to interview Tea Party candidates. $6 million. He's not the only one. They've also been pumping money for the same reason into Sean Hannity, into Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin, Rush Limbaugh, all those other right-wing wacko talk show hosts to talk about, again, their issues and interview their people. Now, here at Free Speech TV, we don't have that kind of money. We don't have that kind of political payback, and we don't want it. But there's no government money either, Free Speech TV, and no corporate money. Here at Free Speech TV, the only people that we turn to and depend on exclusively, totally, is you, our viewers every day. So a couple times a year, we'd have to turn to you and ask you again to help and be as helpful as you can and as helpful as you've been in the past. Here are some special premiums that may influence you to give us some help. If you can just help us with $50, you'll be able to participate in a 1-hour conference call with me on July 15 to talk about the big issues of the day. For $120, you get a Free Speech TV bag, a copy of the Constitution. You'll also be on that conference call. $240 or $20 a month, an Eco Journal for the Bill Press Show, and a pen set, and a Bill Press mug for $360 or $30 a month. All of the above, including, again, that conference call. And if you are lucky enough to be able to give us $1,000, get your way to Washington, D.C., and Carol and I will take you out to dinner and invite you to join us right here in the studio to watch our show the very, very next day. So please give us a call or go online and make your pledge as generously as you can. The number to call is 877-378-8669. And the website is, of course, freespeech.org. We don't want any Koch brothers money. We don't want any Freedom Works money. We just want to hear from you. And thank you for being with us once again.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, friends, good to see you.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
I know people are mad and they give me grief. Phil writes in, did I accidentally tune into Sports Center? We talk sports on this show sometimes, and you know what? When my team wins, we're going to talk about it. And I haven't been obnoxious about it today. I spent very little time on it, considering what a big deal it is. My name is Peter Ogburn, celebrating the San Antonio Spurs winning the NBA title last night. Thank you all so much for tuning in. YouTube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV is our place to watch the show. We're streaming live video there. You can also hear us live on the TuneIn app using the Progressive Voices channel on there, or at BillPressShow.com. A lot of stuff from over the weekend that I found interesting about the Iraq situation. Believe it or not, Meet the Press had nobody better than Mitt Romney. They brought Mitt Romney in to talk about the Iraq situation. Elisa, can you grab the Mitt Romney clip, the clip of Mitt Romney? Because there are a lot of things that you could say, or a lot of things to talk about with the Iraq situation, of what it means and the fact that we've lost it in a lot of ways. But this is Mitt Romney and him sort of weighing in on it.
This administration, from Secretary Clinton to President Obama, has repeatedly underestimated the threats that are faced by America, has repeatedly underestimated our adversaries, and whether that's Russia or Assad or ISIS or Al-Qaeda itself, it has not taken the action necessary to prevent bad things from happening. It has not used our influence to do what's necessary to protect our interests.
So this is my problem with that clip for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the fact that they brought Mitt Romney on to talk about Iraq. But, he says we underestimated the situation in Iraq. Well, I don't really think that's the case. I think that the problem was that not enough people took it serious. And, there were progressives, there were a lot of writers who flat out said, this is a real problem we should not be getting into. And I don't think underestimating was the problem in Iraq. That's just my take on it. A lot of other stuff going on, so we wanted to bring in our friend from National Journal leadership reporter Tim Alberta. He joins us in studio now. Follow him on Twitter at Tim Alberta. Tim, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure to be here.
It.
Thank you.
A lot of stuff going on with the whole leadership situation with the Republicans. Let me first start off with Eric Cantor and what happened to Eric Cantor.
What happened to Eric Cantor, indeed? That's the $64,000 question. You know, it's interesting, and I was just having a conversation to this effect with someone close to Mr. Cantor last week. It's a bit of a Greek tragedy in a way, what's happened to Eric Cantor, because this is a guy who has made no secret of the fact for some time, Peter, that he wants a shot at the speakership, and he had his shot at the speakership. It was very evident to a lot of folks on Capitol Hill that this could very well be John Boehner's last term, that after the November elections, he would either willingly resign and step aside, or there were many members, a few dozen members, according to my reporting, that were ready and willing to inform Speaker Boehner that he would not have the votes on the House floor to be reelected next January. And in any case, it was becoming increasingly clear that Speaker Boehner was going to be gone this time next year, and that Majority Leader Cantor was the heir apparent. There was some early turbulence in the relationship between those two. It's sort of been soothed out over the years, and by all indications, not only was Speaker Boehner okay with Eric Cantor taking over, but it seemed as though that could happen as soon as this November. So Eric Cantor is within months of achieving his lifelong dream of becoming the speakership, yet that dream is derailed by neglecting the most basic, the most rudimentary task in all of politics, which is tending to your own constituents, looking out for the folks in your backyard, making sure that you are attuned to what is happening in your district. And so that's why I call it a bit of a Greek tragedy, because for Eric Cantor, a very talented, very skilled politician who was, again, within a few months of realizing this lifelong dream of becoming the first ever Jewish Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, he is now going home because he lost in his backyard.
It is amazing when you think about, when you put it in that scope of what was coming and how it was taken away from him. But that to me is just as interesting. Why did he lose? Why did he lose?
Well, there are a number of theories on this. I think the idea that Eric Cantor lost primarily because of immigration reform and his willingness to move to the middle a bit and strike a deal. Eric Cantor spoke an awful lot about the kids, meaning the so-called dreamers, the young undocumented immigrants who were brought here by their parents or by a guardian, sort of through no willingness of their own. And Eric Cantor repeatedly told his colleagues and let it be known that while he was not for some big comprehensive package, some sweeping reform deal, he was certainly in favor of working on something to take the kids out of the equation, because he felt that was the right thing to do. And of course, his primary opponent made hay of that and let it be known back in the district, back in the Richmond suburbs, where Eric Cantor has been representing for some time, that the majority leader was in favor of amnesty. And that, of course, became sort of a flashpoint in the campaign. And a lot of folks on election night were immediately chalking up Mr. Cantor's loss to his moderation on the issue of immigration. I don't really buy that so much. I think that may have had something to do with it. I think, frankly, Eric Cantor is a politician who, as majority leader of the U.S. House of Representatives, has a ton of responsibilities in terms of traveling around the country, in terms of fundraising for other candidates, in terms of fundraising for Republican causes and conservative causes at large. This is a guy who, by nature of his high-ranking leadership position, was not spending a whole lot of time in his district. And I also think that there is an anti-incumbent mood out there, and it permeates party lines, ideological divides. I think you have folks in the conservative base and in the progressive base, and folks who are independents who are disgusted with what they see in Washington. I don't think it takes any focus polling group to make that empirical. I think you have a lot of anti-incumbent sentiment out there in the provinces, and I think that anti-incumbent fervor, combined with the fact that Eric Cantor did not spend nearly as much time in his district, or perhaps take this primary challenge as seriously as he should have, sort of combined to create this perfect storm. And then when you throw this immigration stuff on top of it that really riles up the conservative base, you can see why Eric Cantor was sort of caught off guard.
Yeah, it's fascinating, I think, the way that it all played out. And when I think of Eric Cantor, and when When I think of guys like Mitch McConnell or Harry Reid, I think of them as national politicians, right? It's tough to think of them as representing their districts in Virginia or Kentucky or Nevada. Like they're DC people. They're DC people.
Definitely.
So now that he's gone, now what? What does that mean for the Republicans?
The heat is on, man. The race is on. It's incredible. You know, the body is still warm, and
exactly,
and everybody is scrambling to replace him. Yeah. So basically, what we have this week are a couple of pretty fascinating elections. Of course, we are only guaranteed of one election on Thursday, and that is to replace Eric Cantor as House Majority Leader. The heavy favorite, the overwhelming favorite, prohibitive favorite in that race is the number 3 in House leadership presently, that is Kevin McCarthy, the House Majority Whip. He is actually best friends with Eric Cantor, and he has received Cantor's blessing to seek a promotion to replace him. What's made that race interesting is 72 hours ago, it looked like nobody was going to challenge McCarthy. It looked like he was just going to, crab walk to that promotion and sort of win that promotion by acclamation, more or less. Friday afternoon, National Journal broke the news that Raul Labrador, the very conservative second-term congressman from Idaho's 1st District, will in fact be entering that race to challenge McCarthy, and we're going to have a heads-up contest. It's very unclear whether Mr. Labrador, who I've reported on extensively and I know pretty well, thinks he can win. He's saying that he thinks he can. I've got a lot of friends of his who told me in private, look, Raul is out there to prove a point. First of all, Labrador does not like McCarthy, personally. They don't have a good relationship. Secondly, Labrador views the current leadership team as totally unrepresentative of the current makeup of the House GOP. You had this big class of 2010 that ideologically is very conservative, but also geographically, demographically, comes from red states, red districts, and these folks from the 2010 class, of which Labrador was a part, they look at the current leadership structure. You have 4 members from blue or purple states. None of these folks are viewed as terribly conservative. They are not far right on the ideological spectrum. So for Labrador and a lot of his conservative comrades, they are frankly pretty disgusted by the idea that when a high-ranking leadership position opens, that there's this notion that Kevin McCarthy, the majority whip, should just sort of earn that promotion again by acclamation with no real contest. So conservatives were hoping that a higher profile pick, somebody like Jim Jordan or Jeb Hensarling, would jump in and he would be the conservative alternative to Kevin McCarthy. That has not happened, and as a result, Mr. Labrador has taken it upon himself to jump in that race. And again, according to some of his close friends, they're saying, look, Raul does not think he can win, but Raul wants to make a point. And the point is that conservatives are the ones who pushed you guys into the majority back in 2010, and you should not be taking us for granted. We need to be represented in the uppermost echelons of leadership.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Right. So now, if Kevin McCarthy does in fact win that race and becomes majority leader, then his spot as majority whip is vacated, and then you have a secondary race to replace him as majority whip. And in that race, it's a little more complex. You've got a 3-man race. Steve Scalise, the chairman of the Republican Study Committee, he is from Louisiana, regarded as a pretty conservative member. He is in the lead right now by all accounts. All 3 camps say that Scalise is in the lead. The question really becomes, can Scalise get an outright majority on the first ballot? That's 117 votes. There are 233 members of the House GOP, so Scalise needs 117 votes on that first ballot to win outright and become the majority whip. If he does not hit that threshold, then the contest becomes between Roscom and Stutzman. Peter Roscom from Illinois, who's the chief deputy whip, sort of regarded as in second place right now, and then in third place is Marlin Stutzman, who's a pretty conservative guy from Indiana, and he's rallying conservatives who don't think that Steve Scalise is conservative enough. All of that is to say that if this thing goes to a second ballot, that's where it gets really interesting, and that's why Steve Scalise's team is just absolutely hell-bent at this point on hitting that magic number of 117 and avoiding a second ballot altogether.
All right. Okay, good stuff. Let's take a quick break. We got more to talk about. It's the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogbert, sitting in for Bill. Tim Alberta from National Journal is in studio with us. We'll be back right after this.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. The question that I get asked most is how do we prepare this show, and when do we prepare our show every morning? Well, I want to tell you about it. First of all, the quick answer is we are always in the middle of preparing a show for the next day. It really starts right after every show, every morning, where we sit around and do a little, Peter and Elisa and Cyprian and Alicia and I, do a little post-mortem on that particular day's show, how things went, which guests we liked, which topics we liked, which calls we liked. And then we start thinking ahead about the next day. What topics might be coming up the next day? What do we know is going to be happening? Who might we want to book as guest for that next day? Sometimes we're 2 or 3 days ahead on guests, but not always, not usually, not. And then we take off. I go to the gym. Then I go to the White House. The briefings always bring little news tidbits that maybe we can use the next day. And meanwhile, we are watching the news, looking to see what's happening, what's developing here in Washington, around the country, around the globe. We have a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon where we then talk about which guests have been booked and which topics still look good. And then the next and that evening, watching the news and still looking for more information. The next morning, we get here an hour before the show, and that's when we finally put the show together. So it's a lot of work. It's an ongoing process, but we love it. We love doing it. We love being number one, and we love being part of Free Speech TV. But of course, we wouldn't be here on Free Speech TV without your support, because Free Speech TV, your one independent, progressive TV channel in this country, doesn't get any government money, doesn't get any corporate money. It's all based on you and your support. And we ask you once again to be as generous as you can. And if you can help us with $50, a contribution of $50 for Free Speech TV, you'll be invited to participate in a 1-hour conference call with me to talk about issues of the day on July 14. We'll give you information on that. If you can help us with $120, $10 a month, you'll get a Free Speech TV bag plus a copy of the U.S. Constitution, and you'll be on that conference call as well. For $240, $20 a month, a Bill Press Show Eco Journal and a pen set and a Bill Press mug for $360, $30 a month, all of the above. And for those of you who can really dig deep and help us with $1,000, you make your way to Washington, and Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good time here on Capitol Hill in the neighborhood, and then you can come in the next morning and be our guest for the show. So we really need your help, depend on your help, and ask you to. You've been so generous in the past. Thank you so much for that. Now, one more time, give us as much help as you can here on Free Speech TV. We're there for you. We need you to be there for us. Thank you.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have from National Journal, Tim Alberta joining us in studio. Follow him on Twitter at Tim Alberta. You can read his fine work at nationaljournal.com. We're talking about the GOP and the leadership fight and the downfall of Eric Cantor. One of the things that I found really funny following Eric Cantor's loss was the labeling of him as a moderate. Some people saying the moderate Eric Cantor. Not a lot of people used to call him a moderate before the Tea Party came in and sort of rained on his parade. How moderate is Eric Cantor, or was Eric Cantor?
Yeah, Peter, that's a great point. I mean, look, if you go back to 2010 when Republicans took back the House majority and Speaker Boehner, then Minority Leader John Boehner is set to ascend to the speakership and take the gavel. All of the buzz in Washington was about how Boehner was sort of, perceived to be the moderate, and how conservatives really were agitating for this young gun conservative, Eric Cantor, to become Speaker. Cantor and Boehner had a bit of a tumultuous relationship at the outset because of what was perceived to be a bit of an ideological divide and how those respective forces were sort of playing up that ideological divide. I think to call Eric Cantor a moderate is insane. This is a guy who has sort of made his mark in Congress as a conservative, as someone who has been able to successfully build bridges between the sort of the moderates and then the right of centers and the conservatives within the House GOP, and has been able to establish strong relations sort of within all of those groups. And that, frankly, is why Eric Cantor was the heir apparent to become Speaker, because he had not only established himself as credible within those different groups, but he had built good personal relationships. This is a guy who, again, with his eye on the speakership, had spent years not only assuring folks of his conservative bona fides, but also assuring the more moderate members that, look, I know how to count votes, I can keep the trains running on time, I'm a guy you can trust in leadership. But just strictly ideologically speaking, if you look at Eric Cantor's voting record, if you look at how he got to Congress, if you look at what he's done since he's been here, I don't think there's a lot of folks who would describe him as a moderate with a straight face. It's just not the case.
There have been and you hear the stories all the time. John Boehner is the kind of guy that if he can get a deal done, he'll do the deal, right? No one ever says that about Eric Cantor. There have been several deals or works that have sort of been happening that Eric Cantor would come down and just say, no, we're killing that. Like, he'll kill that.
Yeah, oh, no doubt about it. I mean, think back a couple of summers ago when we were talking grand bargain, and Eric Cantor was the boogeyman. The White House accused Eric Cantor of crashing those negotiations.
Yes,
and
they had something working with John Boehner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and again, and interestingly enough, I mean, to take it a step further, this sort of speaks to some of the broader issues as far as labeling and ideology within the House Republican Conference. But I mean, even John Boehner, his guys will point out from time to time, as we in the media sort of lazily and haphazardly slap these overly broad labels onto different groups of folks. They say, look, look at John Boehner's voting record before he became a member of leadership. I mean, this guy is not a squish either. Like, John Boehner is not exactly what you would define as like a classic Washington moderate.
Right.
Now, there's of course, he as by virtue of his position in leadership, he needs to be a bit of a deal maker at times, and he cannot just strictly adhere to any one set of conservative ideologies or principles. But at the end of the day, I think with Eric Cantor, it's even more true. This is not a guy who sort of made his bread and butter and got to this point in his career by being a moderate. It just would not happen in today's Republican Party.
As a progressive show, we're great with it. We love watching it. We love watching this. I appreciate you coming in and sort of breaking it down for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tim Alberta from National Journal has been our guest. We're going to take a quick break. We will be back in just a few moments. Make sure you're following at Tim Alberta on Twitter and nationaljournal.com to read his good stuff. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back. Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, just a little time out here for a very important message this morning. This is that time of the year when we ask you, just stop things a little bit, to ask you to really help us here at Free Speech TV. We need your help to keep this great network going. And I realized how important it is again the other day when I was on Fox News, and somebody brought up the old phrase again, the liberal media. This just drives me crazy. I've heard this for so long. I mean, what liberal media is what I want to know. I mean, look across the board, the reality. In talk radio, for example, right, where I've made a living for a long time, talk radio, there are like 2,000 news talk stations in this country. Only about 50 of them are progressive talk radio stations. That's being like generous for 50. All the rest are right-wing talk stations all day long. Look at the newspapers. Look at the op-ed pages. The vast majority of columnists today are conservatives, if not Tea Party people. And then even look at cable television. Yeah, Fox News, 24/7. The communications arm of the Republican Party. Even MSNBC is now progressive all day long. The only progressive cable channel anywhere in the country, the only really 24/7 independent, totally independent, progressive voice in the country is Free Speech TV. That's why I'm so proud to be part of it, and that's why we really need your help, because no government money, no corporate money. We depend on you, and we ask you to help again and be as generous as you can. Got some special goodies for you if you can, for $50. If you can help us with that, you'll be invited to participate in a conference call with me, 1 whole hour, talking about the issues of the day on July 15. If you can help us with $10 a month, just $120, you will get a copy of this Free Speech TV tote bag, a copy of the U.S. Constitution, and you'll be also on that conference call with me on July 15 for $240. For $20 a month, a copy of this Eco Journal with a pen with it, and a Bill Press mug. There it is, this great recycled plastic mug. For $360, $30 a month, you get the whole, everything, all of the above, including the conference call. And if you can afford it, for $1,000 to keep free speech going, make your way to Washington, and Carol and I will take you out to dinner and invite you into the studio here to meet our whole team and watch the show the next morning right here in our studio on Capitol Hill. So we got the mug, we got the book, the journal, and the pen. What else we have? We got a copy of the Constitution, and we've got the Free Speech tote bag, and we've got the conference call on July 15, and then wining and dining with Bill and Carol Press here in Washington, D.C., if you can help us with $1,000. All of that. So do it today. Go to freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can, please. Or to the telephone number 877-378-8669. And thank you for keeping us on the air.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show. One last quick segment here. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill. Just a quick reminder to follow me on Twitter at Peter Ogburn, O-G-B-U-R-N. And follow the show at BP Show. We tweet stuff all throughout the day when Bill is here and we have the press briefing. He tweets live from the White House press briefing every day. And by the way, I'm not just saying this because Bill's my boss. Genuinely entertaining, fascinating stuff, and you get a really good glimpse behind the scenes of what's going on at the White House press briefing. So go follow at BP Show there for that, for sure. Just a quick note to comment on the passing of Kasem, good progressive, by the way, and a one of the best known DJs, music men of all time. People don't realize how different it was when Kasem was on the air. You know, we talked to people who were a little bit younger, you know. I mean, there was no on-demand. There was no, listening, streaming audio. Like, you tuned in, and if you missed it, then you missed it. So Kasem dead at the age of 82. It's a big deal for those of us who came up listening to a lot of radio and work in radio. So stay tuned to your station or whatever you're watching. You got more good stuff coming up. And, of course, we will be back tomorrow. It's Tuesday with Arthur Delaney and Igor Volsky and lots of other good stuff. So make sure you are tuning in. It's the Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn sitting in. See you tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.